mic drop.
That man is a product of a pure environment. There's absolutely nothing wrong with him. I can prove it.
Of course there's something wrong with him. He's a Negro.
Somebody drop this fool for me.
The mic drop.
While freedom of speech is one of the most sacrosanct freedoms in American history, there are a variety of exceptions to the general principle that speech is protected under the First Amendment. We will discuss 6 such categories: incitement, fighting words, obscenity, defamation, commercial speech, and cases in which freedom of speech is outweighed by an even more compelling interest. We'll start with
the mic drop. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Big Mike Drop. I'm your host, Big Mike. Friday afternoon. Got a packed show today. I just wanted to spend a little time with you on the ride home. If you're on the ride home, or if you got off early, if you just played hooky today, shout out to you. Yeah, man. Well, let's get it started today, guys. We're going to talk about the Nolan Wells case. It hits particularly close to home for me because I'm from that area of the nation. I'm from the Gulf Coast. We're from Mobile, Alabama, which is, about 30, 40 minutes east of Ocean Springs, Mississippi. So the Mississippi coast, man, they're my brothers and sisters out there. So shout out to the folks on the Mississippi coast, man. Don't take offense to what I'm about to say today. And let me know if you can hear me. Can you hear me in the comments? Let's see. Give me 1 second. Let me switch this view real quick. There we go. And I'm going to switch the background too. That was kind of just my placeholder background, but let's get into the show. Let's get the background going. All right, man. Friday afternoon, we're in the building. We're talking about the Nolan Wells case. And I may touch on some things that's going on the page, toward the end of the show. But we're going to be around for a while, so let's take a look and see. All right, thank you for letting me know. So I want to talk about Nolan Wells. Like I said, I'm from that area. It's kind of close to home for me. We got a lot of Asian brothers and sisters down there. We got a lot of black brothers and sisters down there. And we all, white brothers and sisters down there. We grew up all together. So I'm a little bit familiar with maybe how I think the dynamic is. I'll say that just to be safe. I'm not going to sit up and say, I know this and that, because there's not a lot of information out there. And matter of fact, with this case, let's be careful with people that say they know. I'll say that. We're just coming fresh off a pretty hot case, a very divisive case, polarizing case with the Carmelo Anthony, Austin Metcalf situation. And during that time, there was a lot of misinformation and disinformation. And I did say my piece on it, but I tried to stay out of the technicalities of it, as it's developing. I'm not really going to take those liberties this time. I want to be on top of what's going on. I'll say the reason that the Carmelo Anthony case got out of hand like it did is because there was no transparency. So with this case, where they already differ, is we have transparency. So I like that. I like that already. We're getting facts. Nolan Wells' parents came on Good Morning America this morning. That's straight from the horse's mouth. Ben Crump, he's going on a press tour with this. And what he's doing essentially is getting it out of Mississippi. So a lot of these injustices, as we saw in Collin County, Texas, a lot of these injustices can happen under the cloak of darkness or some sort of, some sort of group activity, conspiracy, if you want to call it, or whatnot. So I think that what they're doing as far as getting out in the press early, because it's not the same dynamics, first of all. It's not the same dynamics as the Carmelo Anthony case at all, but it's similar. It's happening in the same, time frame, and it's stirring up the same emotions just on the opposite side, right? So I think that the lack of transparency in the Carmelo Anthony case is really what led to such a backlash. Now we're just going to see if people just want to backlash anyway and people want to put out fake information. A lot of that stuff that was coming out during that case was fake. Videos and, AI enhanced images and, all types of things. And I don't think Ben Crump is going to let this case get like that. He is involved in the Carmelo Anthony case as well, via one of his proxies. Somebody that works at one of Ben Crump's offices and I think it's the young lady, is on Carmelo's dream team. So for those who don't know about that, you probably saw earlier this week that they're asking for Judge Roach to recuse himself. So that's the stage that we're in right now with the appeal watch. And we'll keep an eye on the appeal, but I want to really deal in a lot of facts and not a lot of conjecture when it comes to this particular case in Ocean Springs with our brother Nolan. So for those who didn't see his parents on Good Morning America this morning, I actually do have a video. It's not the video. We don't have a lot of movement and stuff in the video. It's just a still shot. And it's a still shot, and you get to hear the audio. We don't want to catch any copyright strikes. But I do want you to hear this video. It's about 10 minutes, and I think it's important to lay the foundation for what we're going to talk about next, okay? Give me one moment. Let's see here. Video file. And this is Nolan Wells.
On the mysterious death of Nolan Wells.
Nolan Wells' parents, let me just frame it. Nolan Wells' parents with Michael Strahan and Benjamin Crump on Good Morning America. This was this morning. This is what I woke up to this morning.
We're joined by his parents, Christine and Elmore Wansley, as well as their attorney, Ben Crump. And before we get started, first off, I want to thank you for being here under these circumstances. I know how extremely tough it must be, and we can express how sorry we are for you and your family. And first question, how are you two holding up?
Taking it second by second.
Day by day.
Second by second and day by day, which we all can understand. And I just want to ask you, the friends that Nolan traveled to Horn Island with, they say that he stayed behind voluntarily. Why would he stay behind?
That we cannot answer. I can't fathom why he would.
I don't know why he would. We always taught him to, if you go with a group, you stay with a group. Mm-hmm. Even when he was in college, he would say, Dad, well, we're going to ride down to a party or something in another city. Now, so I was telling him, look, if you go with 5, you come back with 5. Do not separate from the group. Because I always say safety is in numbers. Mm-hmm. And he always said, yes, sir. So he knew to stay with his group.
All right. That's important right there. Okay. Because those already know that what the other side is saying, and I do say they're the other side because they made themselves the other side. But what the other side is saying is that he basically disobeyed his parents, what he was taught. Not what they told him this one time, what he was taught. He disobeyed his parents and he stayed behind. That's what they're trying to say on the other side. So these parents, you know, and let me say something about this with the parents real quick, just to kind of, you know, before we get started. I'm hearing a lot of different things online about, you know, what the parents should have or shouldn't have done. I'm even hearing people from the FBA community saying that, you know, the lady is being half Asian is an issue and she wasn't telling her son this and that. And I think we need to back off of that. We need to back off of that in that situation. Y'all did it with Carmelo Anthony's parents, and I didn't like it then, even though it was some things that looked kind of problematic. Just because things look a certain way on the outside to us doesn't mean that's what they are, especially in the days of the internet, the age of the internet, right? Because in AI, because people can create anything, okay? Images depicting anything, news stories depicting anything. So we need to be careful before we go in on this young man's parents. And I think they need time to grieve. They're fighting already. You see that. They're out, they're open, they're fighting. And their son hasn't even been buried yet. So think about that. Just think about that before you go in on what the parents should have done and what the parents' lineage is. That's not what this argument is about. This argument isn't about lineage, okay?
So why would he split from his group? I don't know.
So that would have been unusual for him to split from the group. And you said he would always check in with you. Did he check in with you that day?
So that day, no, I don't. But of course, too, they were on the boat. And usually when he is out there, which it's not uncommon, he's, I think, since last year, he's been going there occasionally with his friends.
All right. He's been going there occasionally with his friends since last year. So for those who aren't from the Gulf Coast, boating is a part of life for a lot of people on the Gulf Coast. That's just a thing people do. People fish, people go out to islands, people swim in the ocean or the Gulf and whatnot. Eat raw oysters, you know? So that's a lifestyle. It's a regional specific lifestyle. So for those out there that are saying that he couldn't swim and this and that, I think it's kind of undergirding or reinforcing a negative stereotype about black people, which is an assumption that all black people can't swim. Black people that live on the coast, in the coastal areas, a lot of us can swim. Swimming is part of survival in that area of the country. So just keep that in your mind, okay? And boating is something people do.
Friends, and so it would always just be like, hey, Mom, I'm back, type of thing. But this time there was no call or text from him. It was from his friend.
And then, too, really didn't worry a lot about it because, you know, it was his last weekend to have fun.
Yeah.
Because that Monday he had to report to school and we was preparing to take him back for camp to prepare for the season. So, you know, we're gonna see. He wanted to have his last hurrah before he locked down and get ready for the season. Because, like I said, the entire summer he's training. He got more serious. He started to understand what I was trying to tell him about football, not just being fun, but as you get farther in it, it becomes a business. If you want to excel, and you have to understand, and you have to understand both at the same time.
And we know, Ben, that you said that you're going to do an independent investigation.
Yes.
And you say you have Nolan's cell phone and messages were deleted. How could you tell messages were deleted?
Well, his parents got the phone back, and that's something that's important, Michael, because they tracked this phone on Life 360.
So Life 360, but when I received the phone call from Warren, I immediately called my friend Tashima, and I said, hey, have you guys seen Nolan? Because
remember that name, Tashima. That's important. And also remember, This is straight from the horse's mouth. This is factual information. This is what we know thus far. Messages were deleted from the cell phone. Okay, this is his mother and her attorney talking about this, Benjamin Crump.
Sons, Jalen and Javon, like they grew up together. They played city league sports together. When they got into school, they played sports together. And so she was like, hey, like, okay, the boys were pulling up the location from Snapchat. So the Snapchat location looks completely different than the Life 360 location. So when I pulled up Life 360, it was different. It was showing everywhere the phone had been. Like it had, I was like, well, it's showing that he's back on land. Like I'm not, he's like, but no, he didn't come back with us.
Well, how were you able to get the phone?
So we tracked it, and my friend Tashima went and picked it up.
Okay. So the people didn't bring the phone. See, part of the original narrative, and we're going to get into some of these content creators out here and what they're putting out here too. But part of the original narrative was that the friends went straight to his mom basically the next day or whatever and took the phone. That's what I was getting out of it. That they took the phone to his mother voluntarily. She just said her friend Tashima went to pick it up. Keep all this in mind. Listen.
It wasn't like they said we got his phone, they tracked it. And that highlights all these contradictions, Michael. The fact that they said Nolan was talking to a young woman and she said that he said, I'm going back to get on the boat with the boys. The boys said that he said he was going to stay with her. And so that's an obvious contradiction. And then this video of this, you can hear an argument going where Nolan is saying,
hey, shout out to my man, Freezy, man. Shouty, you know what I'm saying? Hey, Freezy had that on this show the first day. He had enhanced audio and everything. So, you know, we got more than one content creator on top of this. So shout out to him on that. But there was an altercation. So keep that in mind. That's real. There was an altercation that day. And based off of what they're saying, it was altercation between these gentlemen.
Saying, give me my freaking phone with her. And so that's an obvious contradiction. And then this video of this, you can hear an argument going where Nolan is saying, give me my freaking phone. What are you freaking doing? And so then his phone ends up missing. I don't know any teenagers, Michael Strahan, who says, if you believe their story, I'm going to stay behind and I'm going to leave my phone. I mean,
shout out to Benjamin Crump, man. Shout out to Benjamin Crump. I've had my criticism of Benjamin Crump in the past, but I've never lost confidence in Benjamin Crump. I'll say that. So shout out to that brother for getting involved, man. And, you know, they're scared of him too, by the way, y'all. They're really afraid of him. I got a content creator. I might play some of their stuff. And, you know, he said we need to pray Ben Crump away. They need to pray Ben Crump away from this case. And I do think this guy is local to that area of Mississippi. That let me know they were afraid. So they have to pray him away.
No young person leaves their cell phone. And so then there's so many things their parents were telling us about, even why didn't his body wash up with the tide on Sunday? Why would it come on Monday? It's not adding up.
Okay, another important question. So take note of what they're saying. This is, you know, millions and millions of people watched this morning. So I would say that right now, this is the official narrative. And I was waiting for the autopsy results. I was told, you know, I heard Ben Crump say that, you know, his body was flown to DC for an independent autopsy and that those results will be ready sometime today. So hopefully we hear something about those results, but there's a kicker to that. So we'll talk about that here in a moment. Let's go.
And that is the problem when you think about the history of Mississippi.
Yeah, so there are so many questions that need to be answered. And is there anything you'd like people to know about Nolan? What would you like them to know about your son?
All right, the history of Mississippi is going to play a big part in this. And it was playing a big part in it from the beginning. The original story and the narrative crafted by the other side was part of the history of Mississippi as well. So what they're not expecting to happen is for history to be stopped in its place and justice replaced in Mississippi for injustice. Mississippi has a horrible reputation when it comes to law enforcement and black folks. It just is what it is. They did it to themselves. Nobody did it to them. And like I said, we got plenty of black Mississippians out here, man. I think the majority of the state is black. So if not, close to it. Close neck and neck. So this isn't a slight to people from Mississippi, but we know the history. That's going to play a big part in this.
No,
okay.
Nolan, take your time. Nolan was very loving. He was liked by all. It was not a friend that he couldn't make.
No, we'll be right back with more for the parents of Nolan Wells and attorney Ben Crump. We're back now on GMA with the parents of Nolan Wells, Christina and Elmore Wansley. And I want you...
All right, if you're just joining us, welcome to the Big Mic Drop, first and foremost. This is Michael Strahan interviewing the parents of Nolan Wells and their lawyer, Ben Crump, this morning on Good Morning America. So just in case you missed it, in the rush getting out to get to work and whatnot, this is the entire interview. Like I said, it's not no motion. I didn't use the video. It's a still shot. This is the actual audio. So they're just coming back from break.
Please continue to tell us what you want the world to know about your son.
So Nolan was just like this bright light, right? Walk into a room, his smile, his energy was just so infectious. Like it's almost like he drew you into him. And he was just one of those people, like he always wanted everyone to be included. He didn't want anyone to feel left out. I remember one of his teachers emailing us. I can't remember what grade he was in, but basically it was math class. They had a special needs student, and she asked a question, and Nolan got everyone to put their hands down because he wanted that student to answer. And so student answers the question, and she was like, Christine, the classroom, Nolan went crazy, and everyone else started going crazy, just celebrating that child. Making them feel included. And that was the person he was. Like he loved everyone. And I always told Nolan, like, you have to be careful when you have such a big heart like that. I love that God blessed you with that, but you have to be careful with that because that it's not always returned, that type of love, but he was just genuinely a good person.
That's why I'm saying stay off these parents. You can listen to how they're speaking right now. This was nothing rehearsed. This was nothing they had to go through. This is a way of life. This is a way of instruction and rearing both of their children, okay? They're sitting there hand in hand. So it's not the typical crazy situation that the other side can spin into a narrative of he did it to himself. And we're going to get to that, man. It's not a coincidence that every time one of our youth dies at the hands of some mysterious force, they did it to themselves. That's a huge part of the narrative. So that's his mother and Nolan Wells' mother talking about him. Okay, so here we go.
Like I always say, all the best parts of me are with him.
And Dad, anything else you want to add?
It's just he's gonna be really missed. I know a lot of his teammates, they all look to him as a leader. He's more like a silent leader. Not real big on words, more action, which is kind of like I was. I really wasn't real big on talking. I really wanted to show you, and you follow me, and people followed him. And it's gravitated. He put in the work, he worked hard, and he knew he was focused on what he wanted. And he wanted to make life better for, his family. He wanted to have his own family. He used to say, Dad, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. I said, well, son, you got to take it one step at a time. Slow down, let's walk this thing out. Let's train, let's sign our deals, let's make these teams, make these camps, put the work in, and everything else will work out. even his baby brother, their bond got even stronger because now I have a big brother that he's finna do something. So now I want to outdo that. So his focus and his confidence has got even better. So I was looking forward to both of them having outstanding years.
Seasons, yeah.
Not to draw a false equivalency, and let me know if I am, but notice the difference in how this is being handled versus how the situation was handled with the other two young boys, down to the parents talking about the kids, down to the parents being there in support of one another, whether they're together or not, for the kids. It's a totally different dynamic. And you don't really hear anybody on that side saying anything about what they input into their children, what they put into their children. You know what I mean? Oh, well, like I told them, you can't have a big heart. None of that was ever discussed with the Metcalf twins. You know what I'm saying? And it's just stark contrast to these two situations.
He inspired in the home and he inspired outside of the home. And Attorney Crump, where do we go from here? What's next?
Well, the deleted messages that Christina was going to briefly touch on, we want to get the phone and figure that out.
Backtrack on that. When we finally got his phone, me and my sister went through the phone. We went in his Snapchat. He had 2 accounts, absolutely nothing. It wasn't even 24 hours, which is how long videos and pictures stay in Snapchat. And I was just like, that can't be. Like, I've seen Nolan whenever he snaps, like when he goes and he's having fun, like he does videos. Like, there was absolutely nothing, no saved videos. And even my sister was like, yeah, that's suspicious,
Michael,
you know.
We're having an independent autopsy done at the behest of his family. Colin Kaepernick helped pay for the independent autopsy. We flew his body up.
Shout out to Colin Kaepernick. Shout out to Colin Kaepernick. Maybe he should run for president, man, for real. Shout out to him. Colin Kaepernick paying for the autopsy, the independent autopsy.
Up from Mississippi to D.C. because they wanted an autopsy done by a person with no interaction with the Mississippi law enforcement, because there's an issue of trust here that is really important. And the fact that they keep trying to say, well, suggesting it was a drowning, but nobody out there reported him drowning, it's not adding up, Michael Strahan. It is not adding up.
And honestly, we are doing this because at the end of the day, I would hope any parent would fight for their kids to find out if anything happened, what did happen. So we just want honesty and transparency. We want a thorough investigation. We want that same respect that would be given to anybody else, and that's it. We just want answers.
Well, we really appreciate all of you being here. We hope you get the answers that you deserve to have, and we hope you get the closure that you need. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Mike.
All right, y'all. Great interview by Michael Strahan. Great interview. And, you know, that's Nolan's parents. Okay? You know exactly where they stand. You know exactly the information that's out there. We have a solid foundation in order to continue digging and doing what we do here on the internet, right? I think it's several things in that situation that I would like to point out. So when you see these people sitting on the stage with their lawyer and Michael Strahan, and you hear them say that they don't want anybody in Mississippi law enforcement, they want something done independently from Mississippi law enforcement, no interaction, no overlap with Mississippi law enforcement in this matter. That's troubling and important for several reasons. And I'm gonna slow walk this. Matter of fact, let me get some water. Oh, damn, my cup green. So that's troubling for several reasons, because what you're looking at is you're looking at people that pay taxes to the state of Mississippi. They pay state taxes, they pay income taxes, of course they pay federal tax, they pay sales taxes, they pay property taxes within this community, and that's the faith that they have in that system that's supposed to protect them, that they pay into to protect them. These don't look like welfare recipients and all the stuff that, you know, the people out here, the race baiters and the race haters are gonna say, right? These people pay taxes in this community, and yet they don't want their tax dollars to work for them because that's how little faith they have in that apparatus. I think that's telling. And it needs to stop in 2026 in the United States. That's not how we need to rock. A lot of things need to change. And a lot of things are changing, but they're just changing violently, right? It's not comfortable watching them change. So we got the side from Nolan's parents and their representation. Now, as far as I know, they say first day that the other side lawyered up. We haven't heard anything from their lawyers. Also, another question. Yeah, let me get back in the middle here. All right, another question I have. Why hasn't Mississippi released their autopsy? So if Nolan's body is in D.C., in the autopsy, the independent autopsy is supposed to be finished today, Mississippi has already done their autopsy, and that's according to the public safety director. Let me see if I can't find that video. Give me 1 second. Yep, here we go right here. Yeah, let's take a look at this video. I think. All right, we don't need to hear all that. Let me get into it here. All right. I think it's important to listen to both sides. Let me know if this might not be the highest quality, but let's take a look. And this is the commissioner, Sean Tyndall, of the Department of Public Safety for the state of Mississippi. And I want you to hear a few things that he said in this interview too. They kind of stood out to me. But I could be hypersensitive to the situation. So let's go.
There are a lot of people that kind of act like they have information that they don't necessarily have any information, or at least not any that's credible, that's been vetted. What can you tell us at this point?
Well, Richard, let me first send my condolences to the family. I don't know them personally, but I have a lot of friends that have relationships with them and know them, and you know, I can't imagine what they're going through. I've got a senior that just graduated from Gulfport High, is 18. He and his friends remind me a lot of Nolan and his friends, and they go out, they hang out, they do a lot of things together. So my heart is bleeding for the family and the friends of Nolan, who have suffered a tragic loss, and by all accounts was just an outstanding young man with a bright future, and well respected and loved by really everybody that I've talked to that he touched. So very tragic situation. I can tell you, I've grown up on these waters. I've lived here my whole life. I grew up going to Horn Island, going to Ship Island. I've camped on Horn Island. I've swam around those islands. It's very dangerous. I was taught at an early age on the west tips of those islands that you don't swim there because it'll drop from 3 feet, 4 feet to 20 feet in just a matter of a foot, and the currents will pull you out quick. And then I've been on the water. I'm certified scuba diver for 30 years. Done a lot of swimming, sailing, boating, fishing. Drowning is something that happens regularly out there, and it's a silent killer. People don't see it. It's 30 seconds, 40 seconds, you're underwater, and that's it. Hopefully we can raise some awareness about the dangers out there and teach people to be cautious.
Okay. So this interview was a few days ago. This is when they still had his body. Okay. And he's going to get into that. But he's already setting up the narrative that it was a drowning. That's strange to me. Mississippi has not released to now, up to now. I'm not aware of Mississippi State releasing the autopsy results. And called out, you're exactly right. He went out there and he always made it back. For real. So peep game. He's not saying it's a drowning, but he's already setting up the narrative that it's a drowning.
Right now, the autopsy report is still pending. The medical examiner at the Department of Public Safety.
Okay, so he said drowning. Let's go back. I just want you to hear that again. I want you to hear that again.
Foot and the currents will pull you out quick, and from 3 feet, 4 feet to 20 feet. I've camped on Horn Island. I've swam around those islands. It's very dangerous. I was taught at an early age on the west tips of those islands that you don't swim there because it'll drop from 3 feet, 4 feet to 20 feet in just a matter of a foot, and the currents will pull you out quick. And then I've been on the water. Certified scuba diver for 30 years. Done a lot of swimming, sailing, boating, fishing.
So peep out how he's trying to qualify the next statement that he's going to make. And you wonder why the misinformation and disinformation is coming from that side. Yeah, he discussed all of his knowledge and experience and that Nolan didn't have it. He was insinuating that Nolan didn't have it. Absolutely, while qualifying himself to make the next statement and assertion. Now, he is qualified because he's over the state medical examiner. So he is qualified. Just peep out the narrative, guys.
Drowning is something that happens regularly out there, and it's a silent killer. People don't see it. It's 30 seconds, 40 seconds, you're underwater, and that's it. Hopefully we can raise some awareness about the dangers out there and teach people to be cautious. Right now, the autopsy report is still pending. The medical examiner.
Liz, fast. Also, he goes immediately from talking about drownings happen, setting that whole that stage up, and then he goes into the autopsy is still pending.
Department of Public Safety handles that. Dr. Stacy Turner is a board-certified forensic pathologist, which means she's a doctor, an MD certified in forensics and pathology. And in my mind, of those results.
I like the way he had to qualify that she's a doctor. If people don't know what a pathologist is.
Your reports and blood samples and other things that we send off to other labs to report remain with the family, and law enforcement remain confidential. So some of it will be made public. The family will certainly have an opportunity to see it, and what they do with it from there is up to them. But it's
autopsy occurred yesterday at the state medical exam.
And what she's had to go through with all the innuendos and things put on social media, another witness might not come forward after watching that. What I would tell folks is when you get on social media and you ran.
All right, let me get back to where I was. I'm sorry.
Forensics and pathology, and seconds you're underwater, and that's it. Hopefully we can raise some awareness about the dangers out there. And
all right, look at the date. That was July 8th. July 8th is when this interview happened. It's July 10th, and it's Friday. It's going into the weekend.
Teach people to be cautious. Right now, the autopsy report is still pending. The medical examiner at the Department of Public Safety handles that. Dr. Stacy Turner is a board-certified forensic pathologist, which means she's a doctor. And then
Dr. Stacy Turner He goes through all of her qualifications, which means she's a doctor. I thought the fact that her name was Dr. Stacy Turner meant she was a doctor. This guy nervous. He nervous. He nervous. Dr. Stacy Turner, forensics board certified pathologist, which means she's a doctor. The mic drop.
Go get it, Shaw.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at every video and picture. Shout out. What's up, Liz? Shout out to you. Every video and picture, there were people all over the place. He wasn't standing in the middle of the water alone when he went under. I don't even know if he went under. That's not determined yet. There would have been people standing within feet of him, at least. If you're standing next to a 6 foot plus black man 1 second and 30 seconds later they're gone and you don't notice, to be continued, right? Yeah, it doesn't make sense. The story's not adding up, but like I said, they're already pushing a narrative. This is a cover-up. I can't put my finger on what's going on, but this is a cover-up.
Certified in forensics and pathology, and medical examiner at the Department of Public Safety handles that. Dr. Stacy Turner is a board certified forensic pathologist, which means she's a doctor, an MD certified in forensics and pathology. And in my mind, probably the best medical examiner we've ever had in the state of Mississippi. She's been doing it a long time. She's very thorough and very well respected in her field. And she's going to look through this and see what the autopsy uncovers. And then we'll present that to the Jackson County Sheriff's Department. I've been on the phone with the sheriff, talked to him multiple times, and offered any assistance that we can. But right now, you know, we're really waiting on the autopsy report to be completed and try to get witness statements and evidence from out in the field. I know the Sheriff's Department has put out a notice for folks to reach out. What I would tell folks is when you get on social media and you rant and rave and you intimidate and you create false narratives, there's going to be the possibility that witnesses aren't going to come forward.
So who was he talking to when he made that statement? Who's ranting and raving and creating false narratives, or who's basically asking questions to find out what happened to our brother? And we ain't going to stop.
Because they don't want to be a part of all that.
You see, it's almost like he dog whistling to the witnesses not to come forward with that statement.
There's going to be the possibility that witnesses aren't going to come forward because they don't want to be a part of all that. You know, you think about the young girl that was last reported being in contact with Nolan and what she's had to go through with all the innuendos and things put on social media. Another witness might not come forward after watching that.
That young girl already talked to Ben Crump, more than likely.
And that's the tragedy of this situation. We're trying to gather information. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office is trying to gather information. We need witnesses to come forward, and this is counterproductive to those efforts.
The autopsy.
Oh, yeah, he's on a press tour, too. Yeah, what you're witnessing, man, is two machines that are operating. That first machine started operating immediately after what happened to Nolan happened to Nolan. The second machine is operating now, and it's a machine they don't really know much about. So that's the scary part about it. Absolutely. Outcries of black people are always labeled as ranting and painting as angry black men and women. Yeah, he wasn't talking about their side. Absolutely. Shout out to that. He wasn't talking about their side doing it. He was trying to issue some kind of chastisement to us. Say, we need to stop talking on social media. Okay, stop trying to run the Collin County shit. Bring everything out in the open. Be transparent. Where's the autopsy? And if I were Benjamin Crump, and I know they're smart enough to do this, I wouldn't release my autopsy results until Mississippi released their autopsy results. I'd be interested to see if there are any discrepancies. First. Right. Why isn't law enforcement speaking out? That was deep, Q. The court of public opinion is the biggest weapon, their biggest weapon. That's why they want it shut down. Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Occurred yesterday at the state medical examiner's office. What is the timeline for when those will be reviewed and cause of death determination will be made? And will those results be made public?
Well, I don't know if you recall, there was a case a couple of years ago out of Meridian, and there's certain aspects of the autopsy report that are available. After that was done, there was a law that was put in place that made sure that some of the aspects of the autopsy report remain with the family and law enforcement, remain confidential. So some of it will be made public. The family will certainly have an opportunity to see it, and what they do with it from there is up to them. But it's and really, it's not just what you do in the medical examiner's office at the time they do the autopsy. A lot of times you have to wait for toxicology reports and blood samples and other things that we send off to other labs to get analyzed to come back. And so that's kind of in the stage we're at right now, is waiting for some of those results. And again, we'll get that over to the law enforcement. They can go from there. And I would just encourage everybody not to jump to conclusions. That there's really no conclusion to jump to at this point. It's a very
outside of the conclusion that he drowned on the west side of Horn Island, where them tides and the currents and all that shit to pull y'all out there. Fuck out of here, son. Excuse my French. What are y'all jumping to if it's not a damn conclusion? It's outrageous, man. It's outrageous.
Go get it, Shaw.
very tragic situation. And we need time to gather statements, gather evidence, look at what happened, and then ultimately all of this will be made available to the public. And in the meantime, again, what I would encourage people to do is, use this as an example of why you shouldn't leave your friends, why you should stick together. I've talked to my kids about that. And then when you get out on these islands, just being vigilant. It's dangerous. It's deep water. This isn't like being on the river.
So don't leave your friends. You don't do all of these things. He's blaming the victim. It was his fault. That's that Mississippi shit. That's why nobody trusts Mississippi. Right there.
I think you're way out of line talking to me like that. And you're in no position to challenge my expertise.
Exactly. At the end of the day, if he drowned, and I do mean if, at the very least, someone saw it happen and did nothing. Yeah, exactly. He didn't go off to the west side of the island by himself and decide to go swimming. He didn't leave his friends and do that. But they said the same thing about Emmett Till. They said Emmett Till decided to go swimming with a cotton gin fan around his neck. And they were already crafting, and it's happened over and over again. And I don't want to sound like a broken record repeating myself from the other night. But if you look, and it's happening over and over again, and it's always their fault. They tried to say Nolan had a beer. And that was the whole first thing. He got drunk and drowned. That was the very first day. I literally got records on my Facebook post about this where people are laying out the whole story to me. It's literally a dude out here doing videos that has a radio show of all things in Mississippi, doing videos saying that this is what happened. And I'm going to play his video next.
It's not like being on the reservoir or a lake. This is the Gulf of America, and these are barrier islands, and there's a lot of dangerous conditions out there that you need to be prepared for.
There you go with that Gulf of America.
Is the autopsy report kind of the be-all, end-all in terms of the investigation? But based on what comes out of the autopsy report, maybe that's the better way to ask this, does that shape what the investigation looks like going forward?
That was an actual great question. Whoever Richard Cross is, that was a great question. I want to hear the answer to this.
It certainly takes it in different directions. I mean, if it's determined to be a drowning, then that would obviously take it a different direction than if there was blunt force trauma. And there's only so much that a medical examiner can tell you. They can tell you the cause and manner of death. Ultimately, witness statements matter. And I always use the analogy if a body is found laying on the ground outside of a skyscraper. I mean, you've got several options. This person could have been pushed off. This person could have jumped off. This person could have slipped off. It could have been an accident. Could have been a suicide. Could have been a murder. You've got to get some evidence to go along with that to make that determination. The medical examiner can tell you how this person died. It was obviously blunt force trauma due to a fall. But you got to get some additional evidence to make that final determination as to whether it was a suicide, whether it was a homicide, or whether it was an accident.
And so investigators, regardless of what the autopsy report turns up, will continue their work to try to piece together the events of what happened so that the family can understand and the public can understand, right?
Absolutely. And look, we all want answers, and I know the family does. And if I put myself in their shoes, I would certainly have questions, and I would want answers. And I think all that information is being gathered at this point. And obviously, there are a lot of people that drown out at those islands. And what are the circumstances if that's what it
There you go.
was? How did that happen, and how did he get himself in that situation? And unfortunately, we may never know. I had a first cousin, about 10 years ago, drown down here in Hancock County. His father, his mother, they still have a lot of questions to this day because he was at a concert, walked through some water, it got deep, and he drowned. Still a lot of questions. So, we're going to continue to do the investigation, try to figure it out, try to give the family as many answers that we can.
I wonder if his cousin was black. Interviews. Yeah, it's a lot of news going on, right? Like I say, that strategy by Crump was amazing, because now everybody has to get out and start talking. Now, whoever's lying, the truth stands on its own. Whoever's lying, that's where the story's going to start falling apart at. And we're going to get to who's lying right now, and we're going to prove that there's something amiss, to say the least. I don't want to get sued for saying somebody's lying, but there's definitely something amiss. There's pieces missing to the other side's story. So for those who don't know, and I'll get her name, Ashley something, the chancery judge down there in Jackson County. She's the mother of one of the children, the stepmother of one of the children that was with Nolan. And she released a nice little side statement. She said a lot of things. There's a lot of information in those statements. So we got those today. We're going to break that down. Let's finish this up. I wonder, he's part of active investigation, correct? And I wonder if he's biased already. He already has his mind made up in a direction that it's going to go. And I don't know if he's seen the body or not. I don't even think he has. He kind of smirking. It's almost like he holding back a smirk. The dude really wants to smile. Even when he was talking about his brother, he was holding back a smirk. So, these people are crazy.
It's sad for me to ask you this question, but I'm going to ask it because it's part of the rhetoric that is existing right now. There are a lot of people that have pointed to race because Nolan was a young black man. There are pictures of him with young white friends as well. Is there any reason at this point for you to believe that there is a racial component to the death of Nolan Wells?
I have no reason to believe that, and I don't think anybody would have a reason to believe that unless they're just being racist in their hearts and looking at a picture with a black kid with 3 white friends. I mean, that at the end of the day,
now we're the racist one. You're a Mississippi public official. Of course, you're racist.
I've got teenagers that age, and they've got plenty of friends of all races, colors, and sex, and they love them all if they're their friends, and don't pay attention to all that. And so we'll see. I mean, I think the investigation will lead where it will, but there's no indication that there was anything regarding race that led to this unfortunate situation.
Sean Tyndall, Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety. I know you've got a lot going on today. I appreciate you making some time for.
All right, enough of all that. I'm gonna give old buddy Mr. Cross an applause because I did think that he asked some quality questions. He asked some questions that did provide a little value and insight. I just don't think he meant to provide insight in the way that he did. So, I'll say that to be safe on that. But shout out to that interview and those questions, man, because he showed us. He showed us. Oh, yeah. Next, he's going to say, I'm not racist. I have black friends. Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't see color. What do you do at stoplights? Oh, shit. All right, man. So let's get into. I want to play this fool. Hold on, man. I'm gonna do it. Give me a second because this is what you got to see. Now you just heard one member of that side, and before we get into what the stepmother said, I want you to listen to this guy. Go to my save. Where we at? Where we at? Where we at? Where we at? There we go. Oh no, let's do this first. Have you seen this? Check this out. This is interesting too. We talked about this yesterday, Q. Let's share the screen here. We're gonna stop that screen. And we're gonna share another screen. Share screen. Check this out. Can y'all see that? Maybe I can make it bigger. Just a little bit bigger. I want to read the story though. So it's basically saying that the Coast Guard corrects themselves, says they did receive a call from a friend of Nolan Wells on July 4th. All right. So this is Mississippi Television Post. I don't know if this post is true or not. If you find out it's not true, please fact check me in real time. Okay. So we got to make sure no false information makes it in. But it seemed legit. So the U.S. Coast Guard has corrected its previous statement confirming it did receive a call from a friend of Nolan Wells on the night of July 4th. Petty Officer Cheyenne Basurto with the U.S. Coast Guard, Heartland District, originally told Mississippi Television by email that the Coast Guard was not notified about Wells's disappearance until 12:26 p.m. on July 5th, when the Jackson County Sheriff's Office requested assistance. However, at 11:48 a.m. today, Basurto sent a follow-up email clarifying that this was not the first contact. According to the updated statement, it has been confirmed, and this is a quote, it has been confirmed that a friend of the teen contacted the Coast Guard on the night of July 4th around 11. However, the Jackson County Sheriff's Office is the lead agency, and the Coast Guard assistance was not requested until 12:26 p.m. July 5th, 2026. Basurto also stated that no Coast Guard assistance was requested during the initial July 4th notification. Officials say they cannot release additional details about the call, including who made it or what was reported, because the case remains under investigation. But yet you got the director of public safety for Mississippi doing a whole radio interview. Something ain't right, family. Miss Texas, the Coast Guard has no reason to lie. They did provide the receipts on local news channels. I get it. I'm not saying the Coast Guard is lying. I'm not saying that or insinuating that. What I'm saying is, when do you usually call the Coast Guard? When do you usually call the Coast Guard? Call it out. Let them know in the comments when you usually call the Coast Guard. That's all I'm saying. I didn't say they lied. But you call the Coast Guard when you know something happened on the water. Right. Thank you. The Coast Guard doesn't storm islands. That's not part of their jurisdiction. They usually take care of things that happen on the water. So at 11 p.m. on July 4th, and we got to figure out what the details of that call were. Not going to make too many speculations on it. But I do think that it's pertinent information. Just take it and tuck it away in your mental banks. It's pertinent. Another question. Why call the Coast Guard if not for assistance?
Well, good at y'all.
Y'all like and share this broadcast. And subscribe to the Big Mike Drop YouTube channel or Mike Drops Facts on Facebook. Oh, yeah. We're not forgetting. Like I say, I've been there my whole life. I already know how it goes down. It's interesting. Well, let's get into this guy. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't agree with a damn thing he's talking about. Give me a moment. I'm going to find this page. All right, here we go. And if you look, he has a lot of comments. This video has almost 300,000 views. So just to put that into perspective for you, it's not just some local dude out here saying shit. This person has influence. But check out the story that's being promoted. And this is Clay Edwards' page.
Nolan Wells on the boat before he died, go to his funeral or be allowed at his funeral. One of my good black friends reached out to me today and asked me that very question. And it was funny that he did because I meant to get to it this morning on my radio show and just kept jumping down rabbit holes.
If you believe a black dude called him and asked him that, I got a bridge to sell you in Arizona.
And forgot to come back to that question. So I'll ask you guys here on the internet, what do you think? Now, these are guys that were supposedly very close friends with Nolan. And I imagine that, first off, I believe they're 100% innocent and that the kid stayed behind by choice and he ended up accidentally drowning by whatever means. And that's going to be the hill I die on until the investigation and the evidence says otherwise. But assuming that all of that is correct.
We're going to assume that what he said is correct.
That these kids had nothing to do with that young man dying. Should the family of Nolan extend an invitation to them and their families to attend the funeral?
You hear this shit? So it's always work that we have to do. It's always our fault we died. Now it's work we have to do to mend the racial gap. These folks are absolutely insane, man. Absolutely insane.
Somebody drop this fool for me.
Now, I know that the mother, the stepmother, the judge, Ashley Cole, I believe his last name, says she knows the mother, went to school with the mother, from the same community as the mother of Nolan. I would suspect that she would want to make an appearance at that funeral. Unfortunately, I don't believe the culture would allow it.
Okay, there you go with that. Nobody would have had a problem. And what we're upset about, the culture is upset about in this situation, and what we're inquiring about in this situation is we act a certain way when things happen to somebody because everybody understands, regardless of how grief-stricken they may be, they understand that things happen, especially out in the water and boating, right? But when you don't really show up, and you heard Nolan's mother on Good Morning America say that her friend had to go to these people's house to retrieve his phone. That means nobody's come and shown up at her house yet. Not even Ashley Coates or whatever her name is. Ashley Cole or whatever her name is. They're making statements, and this fool is sitting out here talking about should Nolan's family invite them to the funeral. If you did invite them, they probably still wouldn't come. It's the culture wouldn't let it happen. We don't have a reputation of ripping white people apart when it's a large group of us and a minority of them. We don't have that reputation. See, what you call this is a projection, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to you, boy. Y'all sticking the bill. You say this is a real quacker. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. The mic drop. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did. He did say that. Yeah, even if it was an accident, the cover-up is criminal in itself. Facts. Yeah, these people are obsessed, man. And look at the shirt he got on.
I believe it would become an untenable situation because all of the black for a living folks who have decided that this is the end all be all, this is the sequel to Mississippi Burning, are not going to handle it well. And they're going to get absolutely triggered if the judge was to show up, if any of the three white boys and their family members.
What black folks going to get triggered if a judge show up somewhere? What are they going to do to a judge in Mississippi, a white female judge in Mississippi? What are black folks going to do if she showed up? What's going on? What we got? What's the report say, Sabrina? Let me see here. Did the report drop? Hold on. Let me take a look. Give me 1 second. I don't see any news right now, so I don't know what the autopsy report and the independent autopsy report, because I think that's going to be the one I base my facts on, is the autopsy report that somebody's paid a medical professional to do and not the state of Mississippi. Like I said, the state of Mississippi is so corrupt and they have such a reputation for being historically corrupt, especially the black taxpayers that live there. I just don't think they have the credibility to administer justice or injustice at this point in time. I think this whole system is probably on the verge of crashing down. And I have my reasons for feeling that way, but I feel like this system is on the verge of crashing down. And that's why this is the same guy that said they got to pray Benjamin Crump away. Let me see if I can't find that.
Were to show up, and they're in a lose-lose situation, right? If they show up, it's going to be an absolute shit show. If they don't show up, it's going to be, oh, look at them. They didn't even have enough respect to show up. Well, hell, if they do show up, they're liable to be putting their physical health in danger. Because have you not seen how the culture acts when they feel disrespected? I'm just saying, it's a lose-lose situation. Again, so the family's got a press conference tomorrow, 11 a.m. in New York City with Ben Crump and friggin' Al Sharpton, the two biggest ambulance chasing, race grifting, outside agitating, pot stirring racist lawyers in this country.
Just say nigga. Just say nigga, man. Stop being scared. Just say what you want to say, bro. We know what you are. We know what you are. Just say what you want to say, bro. Stop being scared. Freedom of speech.
I'm really disappointed in them. They could have done a whole lot more to brought the temperature in the room down some, and all they've done is taken a flamethrower to a gas can by bringing on Ben Crump and now Al Sharpton.
Once again, it's the family's fault. They've taken a flamethrower to a gas can. Do you hear how violent these people are? Do you hear the veiled threats of violence? Because they got representation, because they didn't get some rinky-dink fucking lawyer from around town that y'all could pay off and threaten to throw the case or blow the case or fumble and bumble the case. These are threats to these people, guys. And you're sitting right here looking at it on Facebook. These are threats. Look at the shirt. Everything. I'm going to tell you, I put my outfit together before I got on. Everything that's projected on here, on this screen, is projected for a reason. FAFO. I guess it's some kind of the Clay Edwards show. But we know what FAFO means. And he's upset. He's mad. You can see his sunglasses print on his face. He's so real.
But hey, whatever floats y'all's boat, I guess. Keep that GoFundMe going.
Do y'all know how many times I've been the only black friend, bruh? Since elementary school. I was living a whole ass Sunny Delight commercial. You remember them Sunny D commercials from the 90s?
I don't know what's going on. But yeah, that's your boy Clay Edwards, right? So you heard it. Yeah, he's disappointed the parents are fighting for the truth. Yeah. Oh, we're going to respond to disrespect. Okay, bet. Yeah, I checked it out. There was nothing there yet. So they did. The Coast Guard confirmed and sent investigators. The call was made. Okay, and send investigators. The call was made. The autopsy is not out yet. Bet. Appreciate you, sis. Hey, don't tell them nothing. Don't tell them nothing.
Somebody drop this fool for me.
Don't tell them nothing, sis. I promise you. I think we getting close to that time. Look, I'm gonna take about a 5-minute little break for a minute, man, and I'm gonna come back, but I'm gonna leave you guys with a video for those who did not see. And let's go here. Give me 1 second, yeah. Get to my home. Leave y'all with a quick little video. I was talking about this the other night, man. So I really feel like it's something, and it's right about 6 minutes and 56 seconds. It's a long song, but it'll be good just for you to hear this. This is for those of you who aren't from here that are here now. If you're listening, this thing with Mississippi goes way back. Mississippi has changed a lot in the years. It's progressed over the decades. I've seen it and witnessed it. My grandfather's from Mississippi, by the way, and I've witnessed it. So we know what it used to be. We saw what it came from to the the coast that it is now with the casinos and all of that stuff. But this is what Mississippi actually has a reputation for, guys. This is their reputation, and this is the legal system. So Ben Crump isn't wrong in the way he's thinking. But this is Miss Nina Simone, and I'd like y'all to check this song out. It's called Mississippi Goddamn. All right. And I know they'll cut it out of the show, but I want y'all to check it out. We'll be back. Ladies and gentlemen, Nina Simone. We back. Yeah, had to refill my water, and we're gonna get back to it, man. So that song, man, is telling because there is a real historical concern here with this situation. And like I said, we want to make sure that the facts lead in this situation because that's what Nolan's family deserves is the facts. They don't deserve all this online stuff. And I got another example of the types of conversations that are going on. And I think it's important to point out the conversations that are going on. Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely, sis. Look, I know my mind doesn't work like everybody else's. I've been told that. And I'm not saying it's any better or any worse. If it's anything, it may work a little worse. But I try to tie everything back to an objective truth when I think about things. And sometimes I think wrong. Sometimes I'm wrong about paths that I go down, but I don't have a problem course correcting. So this is a deep situation, man. And so when people, especially like this guys and these people on social media, and I'm picking on Clay today. I'm gonna pick on Clay today because Clay's comments have been getting me up in an uproar about this situation. And if I could just take a moment and be honest with you guys, I'm emotionally drained from this stuff. Not emotionally drained from trolling on social media. I love trolling. Love telling jokes and showing funny videos and getting under people's comments and maybe sometimes getting under people's skin. But it's all in good fun. I don't harbor any hate against anybody. But I'm not afraid to ask any questions at all. I'm not afraid to question systems. And we might talk about my Obama post because I know that I brushed up against a lot of people's golden calf. I may save that for another show, but I brushed up against a lot of people's golden calf on that. But I'm extremely passionate about Black people, especially Black Americans. Not saying I'm dispassionate about everybody else, but we're a minority. And history has shown us that we don't have friends. So I feel like as a family, as a lineage, and this is where the lineage comes in with me. It doesn't come in to deprive anybody of anything, but it comes in to help us get into the future. In the direction that we're going, man, there won't be any Black Americans left in 250 years. The next 250 years are crucial. And we see what's going on. She said Trump is the golden cow now. Oh, yeah, the golden calf god. I mean, I think both sides have golden calves at this point in time. I think Trump has been so polarizing that everybody's retreated to their camps and they're circling the wagon come hell or high water. Everything is an issue divided by race. But like I told my buddy yesterday, we had a long conversation caught out. This is good. Society has to change. People can't just go back. Once you shine a light on roaches, you know you got roaches, right? As long as you can keep the place dark and looking clean, when you turn those lights off and you turn those lights back on, that's what's going to tell the true story about the infestation. And America has an infestation. America's been infested for a long time. And I'm not talking about with immigrants or anything of that nature. America's been infested with a horrible ideology, an unjust, unjust ideology. And Mississippi is like the forefront of that movement. If you look at how Mississippi was looked at throughout the rest of the world, it would be similar to what you would see in Israel right now with the ethnic state, right? The ethno state, the apartheid state. Mississippi was a model, and Alabama wasn't no better. Don't get it twisted. But Mississippi in particular was extremely violent. And Mississippi was a model for South Africa. American apartheid in the South. Period. was the foundation of South African apartheid, of how they crafted that apartheid state. So this isn't lightweight. Like I said, you had stars making songs about it. Yeah, I mean, America has to definitely reconcile. You can't continue to do what you do without reconciling for the damage caused and the injustice caused. I mean, it's just no way. You don't believe in physics if you think that that shit ain't coming back around. But I don't plan on letting this summer impact me as much as it did in 2020. But I didn't plan on 2020 happening either. So I'm prepared to see whatever, but I know that I need to control how it emotionally impacts me. And I don't know if I'm the only one out here feeling this way. And I'm a little vulnerable right now telling you guys this. Yeah, it impacts my mentality when I see this stuff. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. It's exhausting having these arguments. It's exhausting listening to ignorance and listening to people spew ignorance. Okay? So, unfortunately, we still have to do it because you need to have the information. You need to know what to do with the information. Okay? Let's take a look. And this is only a few minutes. But basically, it's stating that Nolan Wells' conspiracy theories proves that blacks hate us more than ever. So now we're the ones with the conspiracy theories. We're asking questions. We're asking questions. And now we're the ones with the conspiracy theories. When they got a whole narrative laid out about him drinking beer and drowning. But here we go. People are devils, man.
This one. All right, we know this is the one. We know it. We got a gang of Klansmen that tricked this black boy onto a boat, and they took him to this island to kill him. I've seen these tweets. I'm not being hyperbolic here, by the way.
I've seen them as well. I'm right there.
I'm not being hyperbolic. This is what they said. This is not Clay making this up. Jason Whitlock even highlighted these on his show yesterday.
Well, you know, this is Mississippi, so you got to add that in there too.
Yeah. Well, this is Mississippi. You know, this is what they all do. You know, this is sport. It's like sport fishing around here. You know, and according to them, not real life. And so they're like, "Oh, this is the one. We got 3 racist white boys. One of their moms is a judge. That the cover up is in. The conspiracy's in. We know it. We got them this time. Nobody leaves a man behind at an island with boats. Nobody does that. They took him there to kill him and leave him.
All right.
And now we got this.
So that's what the other side talking about. I wouldn't want to debate him. I wouldn't want to debate him. That's you know, that would be good to be back, Pop, man. Appreciate you, man. I wouldn't want to debate him, man. That'd be an exercise in futility, man. You got people that are locked in on being ignorant, right? They're going to be ignorant come hell or high water. But I want to get into the main part of this, and I'm glad that my pops is in the building because he can attest to all of this. We're going to talk about boating. Because this same guy, that Clay guy, he got on, and that's when I started really getting into, his comments, because he got on stating that if you don't know nothing about boating, and you don't know nothing about swimming in the water, then you don't know what you're talking about in this and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I'm from the Gulf Coast. We had boats, from John boats to Bayliners. So we know about boating. We know about how to drive a boat. You know, how you say you don't know how to drive a boat, whatever. So we know about the waters that we grew up on and the waters that we live around. So what that was an attempt to do was to kind of play the resident expert to knock you off of your square, to test what you knew and you don't know. But we're going to talk about boating. And I want to get into the comments made by the chancery judge, one of the kid's stepmothers. I think the kid's name is Warren or something like that. His stepmother. And here she is right here. Ashley Cole. Let me move my face to the side. Y'all got to still see me. I don't know what y'all thought. Give me a second. Where'd I go? There we go. All right, Jackson County Chancery Court Judge Ashley Cole, excuse me. Excuse me. Chancery Court Judge Ashley Cole, the mother of one of Nolan Wells' friends who was with him on Horn Island on July 4th, on 4th of July, has released a statement. Nolan made a decision to stay on the island and return inland later with another group of friends. All good and fine. Which friends did he decide he was going to return to the island with? Or from the island with? That's all you need to do. Tell us who those people are that he decided that he was going to return with, because I'm sure he told his guys. I'm sure these best friends asked him, hey, man, who you going back with, bro? We want to make sure you get back. So who you going back with? If they understand boating rules and safety. And we're going to get into that too. Boating rules and safety. But here she is. She's saying this as if this is fact, not hearsay. Okay? So just keep that in mind. That's a good point. And I'm going to talk about that too. Too bad we didn't get toxicology reports and forensic examinations on the 3 that made it home safely. It was a lapse in time. The math ain't mathing. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, but I'm gonna go back up over it. Exactly. Your boat, your liability. Let's go. This is her first statement. All right, so this is Ashley Cole. So she's gonna do a couple of things. And yeah, they were all drinking. And that was part of what those guys on that show, that channel I was just showing you, the FAFO channel over there in Mississippi, that's part of what they were saying the first day. Well, he had a beer on him. He had a beer. And it was a guy that told me, yeah, I saw a beer in the picture, champ. Bud, case closed. Like, what the fuck? You can go off and have a beer. That don't mean you drown. Everybody out there was drunk. The 18-year-old kids. But my question was this. Y'all judges' children, y'all are lawyers' children, doctors' children, whatever. Who bought the beer? Or do y'all have a place where y'all can go buy beer and they know you underage? A lot of questions. Yeah, and the fact they were underage drinking and a decision that was made based off of what Judge Cole, Mrs. Cole says, this is where the story starts to get a little funny to me. I'm gonna need to see some proof of all of this shit. So our family, along with the community, grieves the loss of Nolan Wells. Our thoughts and prayers are with Nolan's family. Our son Warren loved Nolan dearly. Okay. Unfortunately, I feel that it is appropriate for our family to dispel some rumors with facts based upon the social media attention that is being diverted away from the Wells family in their loss. No, they want to know what's happening. We're not here we shouldn't even be here for Mrs. Wells or Mrs. Wansley. We shouldn't even have to be here for her right now because her 18-year-old son should be playing football at Southwest Mississippi College. He should be in camp right now. Yes, I deactivated my Facebook. Given the very heightened emotional state of social media right now, I fear for the safety of my child and my children. My husband and I have 6 children, and we covet their privacy. We do not believe it is appropriate for our minor children's photographs to be circulated throughout the internet, presenting potential threats to their safety. And when you have a case like that, what you do is you don't put pictures of your children on the internet, period. You're a judge, even though you're just a chancery judge. And the difference between chancery judges, certain states have chancery courts, which is more like it's not a mediator, but it's kind of like, almost like people's court. maybe a little bit. People come with their gripes and complaints, and it's not always a money type of exchange, right? It's not like being formally sued or whatnot. They may come up with different types of, remedies, resolutions to conflicts. And man, shout out to you, DJ ZP. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. Shout out to you, bro. Yeah. And she covers her children's privacy, but like Pam Polk says, I covered my children's lives. So she's already putting out there as if they're being threatened or whatnot because questions are being asked. Now, what's up with you, Tommy B? Man, you free? You can come on up. I dropped a link if anybody want to come up. Let me drop this link, guys. Let me drop that link in the top of the chat there. And if you guys want to come up, man, join the show. And give me 1 second. I'll pin that. Yep. So the chat, the link is in the chat, guys. Okay, you're in the truck. All right, bet. If anybody else wants to come up, man, and join, then feel free. Absolutely. So nothing really wrong on that page, right? Other than the fact that it doesn't really feel like she has a personal connection to Nolan herself. That's the only thing I would say, but it's not like she really had to. You know what I mean? So that's neither here nor there. But let's look at this one. And this is where it starts getting a little bit. I start asking questions here. I graduated high school with Christine Wells Wansley. We are from the same community. I have the utmost respect for her and all of the Wells family. We mourn the loss of Nolan with them. Our prayers have been and will continue to be with them. My husband and I were not at Horn Island at any point on 4th of July. No one in our family is trying in any way to impede with the investigation by law enforcement or to otherwise hamper the family and law enforcement's quest for answers. Warren was interviewed by the Jackson County Sheriff's Department and cooperated fully. A position that has no power when it comes to upholding the truth and upholding justice. And unfortunately, that's just how y'all made it, man. Y'all did that to yourself. You want to talk about somebody doing something to themselves? You did this to yourself. You're getting this kind of backlash because of what you did to yourself. Warren was interviewed by the Jackson County Sheriff's Department and cooperated fully. But he didn't cooperate to bring the boy's phone home because, like we heard his mother say, and I might play that again, like we heard his mother say, she had to send her best friend to go get the phone. So this lady who has so much respect for this woman and grew up in the same community as her finds out that her son is missing and that your son has his phone and you don't go personally deliver that phone. Facts. The phone gone over 24 hours. All right. But anyway, he saw Nolan, and this is where it gets sketchy. He saw Nolan last around 3 p.m. on July 4th. They left around 4:30 p.m. when the boat was taking on water and they had an issue with the bilge pump. Nolan made the decision to stay on the island and return inland later with another group of friends. Okay, who is this other group of friends? Who is the other group of friends? This is just some mystery group of friends. First, it was a girl, right? They said it was a girl, but who's this mystery group of friends? Because the young lady's not corroborating this story. She's not corroborating the story. You heard Ben Crump. There are inconsistencies in between their story and the young lady's story. And I'm going to tell you what doesn't make sense to me. You saw Nolan. He last saw Nolan. So this is hearsay. This is a judge, by the way. Person with a law degree, a JD, I would assume. They left around 4:30 p.m. So he last saw Nolan around 3 p.m. on the 4th of July, July 4th. They left around 4:30 p.m. when the boat was taking on water and they had an issue with the bilge pump. Okay. If your boat starts taking on water at 4:30, and this is funny, this stuff is happening on the half hour and the hour marks too, but that's another story. If your boat starts taking on water and you have to leave at 4:30 p.m. and you last saw Nolan at 3 p.m. and you know that Nolan's phone is in your boat, at what point in time did you go tell him that the boat is taking on water and that y'all had to leave? Nobody went and sought out Nolan to tell him, hey, man, the boat taking on water, man. We're having an issue with the bilge pump, man. We got to go. Which was stupidity in itself. And I'm going to tell you why. That's ignorance in itself. And if anybody called their parents and said, hey, we're having an issue, we're taking on water, whose parents are going to tell them to drive or take a boat 8,000 or 8 plus, or it's like 8.7 nautical miles, 10 miles, they say roughly, and, crows flying miles. But nautical miles are different. They're about a little bit under 1,000 feet more than a regular mile. So I think a regular mile is 5,200 plus feet. A nautical mile is like 6,070 some feet. If you have a leak in your boat, you're taking on water, whose parents are going to instruct them to drive a boat 8.6 nautical miles back to the shore, as opposed to staying on the shore and getting towed? And these kids have been drinking. You're not going 10 miles with a broken bilge pump. No, even if you had a small leak, let's just say you're taking on 5 gallons of water per minute. If you do that for an hour, do you realize that you've taken on an additional 2,500 pounds of weight on that boat if you cannot pump the water out of it? Say you decide to chance it. Say you decide to chance it because you're a drunk fucking idiot on drugs, right? Say you try to chance it. Let's just say you encounter wave activity or you have to turn the boat. You increase the risk of capsizing the boat because you have 2,500 pounds of extra water in the boat. The water's not going to sit still even. If you turn that boat and that water shifts, you can capsize the boat. We do this. Stop playing, man. He saw Nolan last around 3 p.m. on the July 4th. They left around 4:30 because the boat, or when the boat was taking on water and they had an issue with the bilge pump. Where's the proof of this? Or was manufacturing an issue with the boat a reason for the boat not to be available for forensic analyzing? This stinks, guys. It stinks. Nolan made a decision to stay on the island and return inland later with another group of friends. I want to know who this other group of friends is. I'm not saying these guys did anything, but if they did something, if they didn't, they know who did. Finish reading this. Yes, I'm a judge. I also value transparency. I apologize if anyone was offended that I deleted my social media. There were no nefarious motivations in deleting my social media. Social media has a lot of positives, but a whole lot of negatives. We live in a world of clickbaiting, sad but true. My family is hopeful that this information will help to redirect the attention to the Wells family, their grief, and their need for our community support. So they want to redirect the attention, all right, about this situation. But you see the victim narrative already being crafted. If you're a judge, you're a public figure. People already know your name. You can make your social media private. Why do you have to delete your social media? You could just lock it down with privacy. Nobody can find you. Nobody can see what you got going on. Nobody can see your pictures. And you can still get together with family and be in your little groups and your little chats and all of that stuff. That's what y'all don't want to come up. That's why that shit got deleted. But Facebook, when compelled from outside forces, has that information for you. They have it. Snapchat, you can't delete anything on the phone. You can't delete anything on the phone. So, at a bare minimum, these kids were doing something they didn't have no business doing, and therefore they have to lie. Maybe they had to tell a lie to cover up another lie, and another lie to cover up another lie. But this isn't adding up. The timeline isn't adding up. None of that. And we're waiting. We're waiting on this information. And as soon as I get that information on that autopsy, and no telling when that'll be, the guy on the public safety director, Tyndall, he did say that they're waiting on blood work and, different things to come back. It usually doesn't take that long to do blood work. Back in the day, it used to take a while to get blood work back. But that should be it should be there by now, being that the autopsy was performed on July 7th. Should be there by now. But use the questions that you heard this morning on GMA or that you heard on this show. But go back and watch that Good Morning America interview with his parents and Ben Crump and listen to the questions. Those questions are the foundations of this case. Don't let anybody take you down any rabbit holes with it. Those questions are the foundations of this case. And I hope that his family gets justice, but you're about to see some shit. You're about to see this. You're about to see this system. It's pathological. Yeah. A government for foreigners by foreigners. The mic drop. Facts. Well, let me look again. I just want to triple check and make sure that nothing's going on. So let me get back to my home page. Excuse me. Oh, okay. Hold on, guys. I'm going to play this on the show. It's an hour long. And I'll come back. But I want to play this because, like I said, this is information. This is information that we need. And y'all probably need it more than y'all care to hear me talk. Okay? So let's take a look at this. Oh, so Al Sharpton is involved now, which you knew that was going to happen. Shout out to Al, though. He not being a Democrat shield. I just hope he don't try to use this as a political ploy to get some Democratic person elected somewhere. We'll talk about that later. But here's Nolan Wells' family calls for probe into teen's death with attorney Ben Crump. This looks like Ben Crump, the family, Al Sharpton, and a few more individuals. I don't know who they are. But check this out. Let's get with it. Hold on. Let me remove this. But yeah, this judge lady is full of shit. Yeah, I said it.
it is clear that this situation must have the most thorough and objective investigation to lead to justice. What we've been told does not make sense. And being that there is lack of confidence in the local authorities, who have already, in my judgment, seemed to have mishandled where it was going. Because to just immediately, before a week time, saying there was nothing done wrong, when we hear that this young man was engaged in some kind of argument that was on tape, that his cell phone and keys ended up with one of the people that were there on the island and got away. He was one black with three young white men who happened to end up with his phone, happened to end up with his keys. Then there's just too many questions that they should not be closing the investigation. Now, I'm from Brooklyn, so I'm a little different than some of y'all. I was built different. My nose is out here, my eyes are here, my brain is here, which means some things I could smell before I could see and before I can figure out. This does not smell right. So some people are saying, Reverend, are y'all bringing in race? Well, we're not bringing in race, but we're not discounting race either, because we don't know what it is. So to tell us don't rush to judgment saying it was racist is fine. But then I'm telling you, don't rush to judgment saying it was not racism, because we do not know. We do know what these parents are being told and what the parents have now shared with us does not make sense. How do you end up a young, promising football player, not in trouble, mother and daddy at home, everything we tell them to do and be, they go on the 4th of July, on the anniversary of this country, going to an island, we're outing with his friends, and the friends come back, and he's left there with some story about, he said, leave them behind. But then by some magic, one of the friends has his keys and his phone. Mind you, his mother tracked down the phone. They didn't voluntarily tell her they had his phone. They didn't voluntarily say they had the keys. So if they had not been tracked down, we don't know if they ever would have known where it was. Some of this doesn't make sense. So we are absolutely in National Action Network and other groups going to rally behind this family. I have told them that whatever we can and need to do, we will do it because this smacks of some of the worst fears that we've had historically, not only in Mississippi, but in this country. And we are there until the end with them. I've been asked by the family to be in Mississippi for the funeral to officiate, which I'm going to do. We just got off the phone with Tyler Perry, the actor who says he wants to help cover whatever expenses for the funeral. We have with us Spike Lee is in the house. Many of our people that have always supported families are there. This is not about them trying to raise money. We're going to take care of that. This is about, though, they got to keep going forward. But we want justice and let the chips fall where they may. If it ends up being one way that we suspect was wrong, fine. But if it's another way, don't back up and play games with this. They are not activists or lawyers. So they only want justice for their son. I'm an activist. When we get there and they say we heating things up, that's what we do. Because sometimes you got to make people sweat to get the poison out their system. I'm the sweat man. And they are the parents that want to see justice for their son. Let me let you hear from Christine and Elmer Wansley and then Attorney Crump. Okay, Attorney Crump, and then we hear from you.
All right, before Ben Crump gets started, glasses back on. Before Ben Crump gets started, he may go for a while. Like I said, this is as up to date as we are right now on the case. I'm following Crump. Like I said, I know the facts are going to be with Crump. I'm following Crump, and I'm looking at the other side and watching the other side too. You do need to know what the other camp is thinking. You got to have, man, O'Shea Duke Jackson in the building. Man, what's happening? Talking about a blast from the past. What's up, brother? How you doing, man? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in. The reason I'm covering this, like I told you before, and for those that are just joining, Mr. O'Shea, thank you. I'm from this area. I'm from 30 minutes east of Ocean Springs, Mississippi. These people are our people, like literally our people. You get invited to a house party in Moss Point. It's just like being invited to a house party in Mount Vernon, Pensacola, Mobile, New Orleans, wherever. You know what I'm saying? So this is particularly close to home to me. And I think that I just know these people, man. These are my people. Hey, thank you, man. Thank you, O'Shea. Thank you, brother, man. Shout out to O'Shea Duke Jackson, man. Mike back on the big mic drop, man. Thanks for sharing this as well. So y'all get in, man. If y'all didn't catch the beginning, definitely catch the replay. There's some good information in there, man. This story stinks. It stinks. It reeks to high heaven. But we're gonna finish tapping in with Ben Crump, okay?
Thank you, Reverend Al, for always answering the bell as you have done on so many occasions when families get the worst news of their life. And make no mistake about it, Christine and Elmo got the worst news of their life on what was supposed to be a joyous occasion where everybody was celebrating the 4th of July weekend. I'm Attorney Ben Crump, along with Attorney Lisa Park and Jared Presson and Camila Moore. We have the honor and the privilege of helping to lead an independent investigation on behalf of the family of Nolan Wells. Why do you say we need to be retained to lead an independent investigation? It is because the family has distrust of the Mississippi law enforcement officials giving them a fair investigation where their black son ended up dead after going out on a boat with 3 young white men. The history of Mississippi is something that they don't just read about in books, but it's a lived experience for many Black Americans that oftentimes when our children are killed in highly questionable situations, that there is this notion that, oh, it was nothing wrong, no foul play, let's just sweep it under the rug. Well, we refuse to sweep it under the rug. We refuse to just let Nolan Wells' death be in vain. We're going to make sure that we get to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, because Nolan deserves it. You're going to hear his mother and father talk about what a wonderful young man he was. I mean, doing everything right. Reverend Al, he was not only a college student, he was a great athlete. He was a model big brother for his brothers and little brothers and sisters. And he was a great son who was on the cusp of becoming a man. I mean, Christine and Elmore did everything to prepare him for this moment. He was so close. He was right there. You're going to hear his father talk about him had a good football season last year, but this season he was really ready to go to the next level, to go to Division I. I mean, the highlights that you're seeing on social media of his athletic prowess, I mean, it is all relevant, because when you start talking about drowning, I mean, this is a kid who knew how to swim. This is a kid who was in tip-top shape.
Thank you for clearing that up. So we could stop not saying that if you know how to swim, you won't drown. That's not what I'm saying at all. But let's stop the whole thing of we didn't know how to swim in this particular situation. That's a racial trope, guys. But thank you, Attorney Crump, for letting us know and confirming that. I pretty much knew it because most of us can swim. We grew up on them beaches. We go to those beaches.
He was a superior athlete. And so I'm going to get to that in a moment, these glaring contradictions, but to try to say, oh, we're suggesting it was just an accident of drowning, go ahead and move on. Well, they are not accepting it. They are not accepting it. They want to know that you have not taken the path of least resistance, that you have done a full, complete, thorough, impartial investigation, because it cannot be lost on anybody, but especially us in the Black community. If the roles were reversed and you had 3 young Black men on a boat with a young white man, and that young white man ended up dead, what kind of investigation would be being conducted by the Mississippi law enforcement officials? How many times would those 3 young Black men be interrogated? So all we're asking is this.
And their families would have been getting death threats on social media. Right now. You would have had Patriot Front, the Boogaloo Boys, the damn Proud Boys, everybody. Hells Angels, everybody would have been in them folks' inbox. They would have had to get rid of their social media because they were getting death threats. I would love to see if those folks got any kind of threats or any kind of threatening messages. I just don't see anybody getting in a judge's inbox, especially from that area where they can actually touch you and saying anything out sideways. I just don't see it, especially if they know you're a judge. And that information has been out since day one. You just happen to come out and confirm it later after trying to hide.
Same consideration.
I've never been so glad to see Ben Crump in my life, y'all.
Look at that shot.
Never been so happy to see Ben Crump in my life. Let's get it.
You would have given, if the roles were reversed, give that consideration to this family as well. That is our fight. The glaring contradictions just jump out at you. The fact that he is there with his friends, and you look at all the videos, it seems to be he's the only Black on the island, or maybe one other, but not many. And so, Jared, you have where a young woman he was talking to says that, well, Nolan said he was going back to get on the boat with the boys.
And obviously, they believe that young woman because he's standing on that as a fact. I don't know if this has happened or not, but apparently somebody from their camp has talked to this young woman and qualified her story because nobody's pointing at her. They must feel comfortable that she's not involved.
The boys say that Nolan told them he was going to stay and talk to the young woman. It's a contradiction. They're not saying the same thing. One of them is telling the truth, one of them is not. We have to get to the bottom of that. It's important. And then the fact, Reverend Al, that they have this video of an argument that is going on, and
I'm surprised he didn't say Reverend Al Sharpton. But notice Ben Crump, when he's talking to certain people, he'll repeat their whole name. He did that the other night with Don Lemon, and it just sounds funny to me, but he's doing it for a reason. If anybody has any idea why he does that, let me know. It has to be some kind of reason behind it. But he's usually Don Lemon. Yes, Don Lemon. Yes, Michael Strahan. Yes, but then he's Reverend Al. So, you know, that's a slight distinction I noticed there. I wonder what's behind that.
you know, thank God all young people, they have cell phones, and anytime you hear people raising their voice, they start the video. And so you hear on the video, Nolan saying, "Give me my freaking phone. What are you freaking doing?" And that becomes even more relevant when you think about the story that they are presenting. That
I don't know, Sabrina. Ben Crump says Nolan said that. Like I said, I don't think this man really operates off of that. I don't know what video it is. If you got the link to the video, send it to me. Let's take a look at it. How about that? That's the fair thing to do. But I just don't see Ben Crump saying that this boy said that. And, you know, okay, yeah, Nolan did say that part. Send me that video, Sabrina.
Nolan chose to stay behind. That's what they're saying. But his phone, he wouldn't take that with him if he's going to stay behind on an island. I mean, we're talking about an 18-year-old kid.
I'm not going to play the video today because I need to qualify some of these things. Like I said, I don't want this to be a misinformation hub for anybody. Like I said, I'm safe on Ben Crump's side because this is the official narrative, but I will look at all the videos and everything else that comes through. Now, it is something I would like to touch on that may be different, and it's from a different type of perspective, I'll say. It's a young lady on Facebook. I've been listening to a couple of her things, and she has an interesting take on it. Now, I don't necessarily agree with what she's saying, but I don't necessarily disagree. I have an open ear to it. So we might get into that. Like I said, this is going to be a pretty long press conference, but I think it's important. And if you got time, stick with us, please.
What teenager would leave their phone behind if they're going to stay on this island? What teenager wouldn't take their phone? And so it's not adding up. It's not adding up at all. The fact, as Reverend Al said, you know, they didn't take his phone with them. His mother, when she finds out that her baby is missing, they start trying to track the phone. The GPS the phone, they've used Life 360, and they discover that, well, the phone is on land. The phone is on land, but you're saying he went missing on the island. And so it's not adding up. And so they go get the phone. And you hear her tell herself, when her and her sister start going through his phone, Jared, they realize that there are deleted messages. So they're trying to figure out, well, why are there deleted messages on his phone? I mean, it becomes relevant when you start putting everything together where we can't just say, oh, there's no instance of foul play. We're going to get to the truth one way or the other. The fact that, and this really makes no sense to me, Reverend Al, this notion that, well, he drowned, y'all have, I'm sure, seen all the videos out there. I mean, if he's drowning, nobody sees him drown, nobody offers assistance, nobody tries to help him. I mean, obviously, he stands out. I think, the only black person I saw when I'm looking at the videos. And if you see him drowning, you mean nobody is going to try to help him? It's not adding up. It is not adding up. And that's why the family, at their behest, we had an independent autopsy being performed. And we thank Colin Kaepernick for helping to pay for that independent autopsy. And we thank Tyler Perry for helping to pay for the funeral. Because as Reverend Al said, these were just regular parents going about their life. They weren't expecting any of this. And then we're having to try to hire all these experts to be able to go and see if they can retrieve deleted messages. We have to have experts. You'll hear from Attorney Park talk about, where the body was found when it was recovered and how long it took to be recovered. We think all of those are relevant issues to trying to understand what really happened to Nolan Wells. And this independent autopsy is so very important because we had his body flown from Mississippi to Washington, D.C., because his family wanted to make sure that they had a doctor who had no ties to Mississippi law enforcement to do an independent examination of their son's body. And we are hopeful to get that results in the very near future. We were hoping we would have had it today. However, as you all know, here in New York, they canceled all the flights yesterday, and so it took a long time for his body to get to the medical examiner's office in Washington, D.C. But rest assured, as soon as we get those results, we will make them known to you because we believe transparency is very important. We want to lead by example. We want them to be transparent, and we want to be transparent. We know they conducted the autopsy. We are waiting on their results as well. If there are any people on that island, any young people who recorded videos, who witnessed things, who may have saw Nolan at any time on the island, please, please, please let us know. Please call bencrump.com, call the 800 number, just any information. They are desperate. We're in a ferocious pursuit for the truth. And y'all, if it was your child, wouldn't you want everybody who knew something to let you all know? This is a hard one, because it's so tragic on so many levels. Brad, before we bring the parents up, why don't we have Attorney Lisa Park, who is helping head up the investigation with our office.
My name is Lisa Park. I'm the senior attorney for the Ben Crump Law Office in Atlanta. It is our honor to work with the family to try to find answers in this case. I think that most of you at this point are aware of Ben Crump Law and many of the cases that we represent in this country. Some of these cases you don't know anything about until we get involved and we shed some light and we explain to the media what has happened, and you all let America know what has happened. Mm-hmm. Sometimes cases come and you all already know about it. This is one of those cases. I saw this in the news before I got a call from Ben. This was already huge in social media, already out in general media. Why? Why? Because it doesn't take an attorney. It doesn't take a special investigator. It doesn't take someone with extreme training to know right off There's something wrong here. This is, as Ben has put it, not adding up. It is so obvious. There are so many people in this country that go missing, right? Everybody knows this. But this case has captured everybody's attention. Think about why. You know that something is not right. It doesn't take us. It doesn't take the Reverend Al Sharpton, Ben Crump, to tell you and then think, oh, now I know something's wrong. We know something is wrong. And for every single person that was in Horn Island, and we know there's about 200 people, there's a lot of people. We know that Horn Island is a popular place during the holidays. It's a popular place on the weekends. You have to get there by boat. It's the only way to get there. You have to leave by boat. It's the only way to leave. So many people out there. If you are watching this, if you see this, and you are struggling about what to say or what to do, you know what the right thing to do is. Call Ben Crump Law. There's this thing called the internet. It's very easy to find that number. Call us. We have an entire call center. They're waiting to hear from you. If you didn't go to Horn Island, but you've heard something, because people are talking. They're talking with each other. They may not be calling the police. They may not be calling us. But you heard something. We need to know that. We need to know that. In America today, so many of us, we want to believe that the last several decades we've made so much progress in our race relations, don't we? We want to believe that. Whether you're black or you're white or you're Asian, that's what we want to believe. We wanted to believe that this past 4th of July when we celebrated 250 years, right? If you want to believe that, you've got to be part of the solution. You've got to be part of that. You have to make it happen. And if you have information, please call us. It is incredibly important. People out there, you have answers. You may not know exactly what your information means, but if you saw something, say something, please.
All right, we're going to hear from the parents, and then we'll have Q&A. And what I want is when we go to the media, identify yourself and your outlet so we know who is speaking. And let me say again that we're standing with this family till the very end and make sure we deal with justice. Let's first hear from the mother, Christine Wansley.
First of all, I want to say thank you, everyone, for being here. This is not how I wanted the world to meet my son, but here we are. So, as you know, I'm Christine Wells Wansley. I am Nolan Wells' mom. And Nolan is the kindest soul. He never met a stranger. He loved everybody. He didn't care if you were black, white, purple, green, looked like a marshmallow. Like, he just wanted everyone to be in peace with one another. He loved life, and God gave him this big heart, which always scared us. Me and his dad had conversations with him all the time, not just about the importance of understanding our history as Black people, but also the importance of how you have to move in certain spaces. And it's not us being, feeding into racism or the stereotypes that comes with that. Unfortunately, that is just a matter of fact. There have been many cases, many instances that shows it's unfortunately a pattern that he did not like. He did not like that there was so much division, and I think that's why God gave him us. He was really a peacemaker. He wanted, like I said, everyone to be included. He never wanted to leave anyone out. He just, even at a young age, I don't know, he was, how old was he? No, not 18. So his father and I were having a moment, and as couples do, and even in that moment, he runs in the room with his diaper on, of course, and he starts dancing because it was like he could feel the tension. He could feel that something wasn't right. So he was just a special kid. Like, he was a special kid, but again, just heart was so big. And we're gonna miss him dearly. But we are grateful, especially to our friend Tashima, who actually was one of the people who helped us that night. She went and picked up his cell phone from where it was, and then provided that to us, because we of course contacted authorities to figure out who to do the report with, whether it was the county or the city, which then turned into DMR, who I contacted immediately from there. And, but so our friend actually, when I called her, Nolan is best friends with her two sons, Jalen and Javon. When I called her, I said, Tashima, have you seen Nolan? He's missing. No one has seen him. No one has talked to him. The boys were actually with her sons. So they opened up their Snapchat, because a lot of the kids do have their locations where they're tracking one another. So one of the boys says, well, it's showing that, I can't exactly remember what his location was showing, but my Life 360 location was showing something completely different. It was actually showing that his phone was like he was on land. And so we ended up, she received the phone from that parent, and then we met up where his car was, which was at a separate location. There were issues obtaining the key, but even so, there's just a lot of...
Tell them about what happened with the key.
So I'm gonna let my husband tell you about that, because he actually went up to the door to get the key, because at that point, I was just not in my right mind. This has just been an awful situation, just terrible.
Elmore Wansley, father.
Okay, so the situation with the key. When we got to the house, a few of his friends, they were already there, and they were at the door in the house asking questions. So when I walked up, they were getting, things were getting kind of tense. So I turned to them and told them, I need you guys to calm down. I don't do this to me right now. I need them to kind of trust me so they can give me something. So I was able to calm them down. So the guy, he's in one of the pictures, he came out of the room, half asleep or whatever, I think Jack's or whatever. And I said, look, I'm Nolan's father. I'm here to get his keys so I can get his car. I said, he's like, his car's parked in the yard. So he was like, I don't know, man. I know it's like my brother. I said, well, if Nolan was like your brother, would you please go on your room and see if you can find my son's keys so I can take his car home? He walks off, 2 or 3 minutes, come back. I can't find the keys. I said, okay. So at that point, I get the boys and I get moved them out the house because I didn't want them to go into the house and start tearing up these people's houses because there'd never be a hole in the situation. So we walk outside by the car. One of the guys that was in the house with us, he was on the phone with a girl, and the girl told him that Nolan's keys were on top of this Jax guy's Xbox in the house because apparently she was there with him earlier. So he goes back up to the door by himself, and 5 minutes later, the keys come out. So now I feel like you lied to me. So now I'm really like in distress with you. But as far as the night goes, if I knew anyone had a boat, I would have went out that night looking for my son. We tried, but I don't have friends with boats. But if I knew someone with one, I would have went out that night. And this so happened that his coach saw all the stuff on Facebook that next morning and called, contacted me at like 5 in the morning, asked me, did we want to go out? And I told him yes. So within an hour, he was at the dock. We met him and we went out. We docked the boat, got off the boat, walked on the island, walked a pretty nice stretch, came back, got back on the boat, went around the island.
I don't mean to leave y'all hanging for too long, guys, but right now I think it's important that we do more listening. And so I just want to hear what they have to say. And therefore, we know what direction we need to go from here as far as disseminating the information, making sure we're disseminating the correct information. So I don't mean to leave y'all hanging so long, but it's important to pay attention, okay? This is cutting edge, up-to-date news on this case right now. And as more comes in, we'll be doing more.
Look, came back around, and where we went to, that's where apparently they say that his body floated up. I don't know a lot about water currents or that, but I would think that we would have saw his body. And on the trip there was a family that stayed a night on the island, like actually tenting out on the island. So if he was left, he would have saw that family on the island, and it was 2 other boats docked, so he would have had help. So I don't know. I don't know. I think we stayed there for like an hour and a half. That's when if I knew anyone had a boat, I would have went out that night looking for my son. We tried, but I don't have friends with boats. But if I knew someone with one, I would have went out that night. And this so happened that his coach saw all the stuff on Facebook that next morning and called, contacted me at like 5 in the morning, asked me, did we want to go out? And I told him yes. So within an hour, he was at the dock. We met him and we went out. We docked the boat, got off the boat, walked on the island, walked a pretty nice stretch, came back, got back on the boat, went around the island, looked, came back around, and where we went to, that's where apparently they say that his body floated up. I don't know a lot about water currents or that, but I would think that we would have saw his body. And on the trip there was a family that stayed a night on the island, like actually tenting out on the island. So if he was left, he would have saw that family on the island, and it was 2 other boats docked, so he would have had help.
So, I get it, man. I get it. You just got to be careful, and then therefore you turn around and you teach your kids that stuff, because by the time you're in the woods getting cornered, it's too late. By the time you're off in some remote place getting cornered, it's just too late. So you have to make those decisions ahead of time. That's a smart thing to do. Shout out to you.
So I don't know. I don't know. I think we stayed there for like an hour and a half. That's when Jackson County and the sheriff department showed up, and they were going to do their rounds. And I had a classmate of mine,
I'm just saying, man, it's a damn shame that you got a judge in this situation that's involved and connected to this situation. You have a judge, and you got these parents that have to fight this hard. You got parents that have to fight this hard instead of being with family and trying to, console each other and grieve. They have to fight these people and fight lies and listen to bullshit like Clay on social media. This is a travesty. It's tragic. It's freaking tragic.
It's two boys. They came out and they searched, and then they got back in touch with me and said the Coast Guard had finally showed up in airplanes. So
what is so critical, what Elmore is saying, is they went out on Sunday, and the tide, if it brought his body up, he went missing on July 4th, as they say. His body should have been there on July 5th. Why would it not appear to July 6th? And that's one of those things that's just not adding up. And the fact that if he stayed behind on the island, there were boats there. There were people. Somebody had to see something. That's why it's not adding up. And that's what they're saying. It is just not adding up.
Yes. And if he was there 2 days, somebody on the island would be able to verify that. 2 days and nobody's come forward and say, no, he was with us, or no, we saw him. It just does not make sense.
Has anybody come forth and said they saw anything out of the hundreds of people there? Has anybody come forth and said they saw anything? There's no judge that slapped a gag order on this case, guys. You understand that? A person that witnessed something is under no, they're not bound to any kind of gag order. They could talk about what they saw. But has anybody come forward? Let me know in the comments if you know of anybody that's come forward and said that they witnessed this.
Makes sense.
Just one last thing. We want her to talk about the cell phone deleted messages.
You're talking off mic.
I'm sorry. I thought my voice was loud enough. One last thing. We want to have Christine talk about the cell phone from her perspective before they tell you who Nolan was. And then we'll take your questions.
Now I'm going to tell you this. Let's see whose story changes as this progresses. This woman has had to tell this story a few times already now, but side by side, let's see whose story changes. Let's see which times change. Let's see. Just pay attention.
So when we made it home, my sister and I actually went through Nolan's cell phone, particularly Snapchat, because that is so popular with the children. And when we opened it up, there was nothing. There were no saved pictures. There were no snaps from that day. And we did open it before the 24-hour expiration. So we found that very concerning, only because anyone who's ever been around Nolan will tell you at social gatherings, he's taking videos, he's taking pictures, he's even come up to me when I'm getting ready to go to bed. Hey, Mom, come on, take a picture of me. You know, like he just, that was Nolan. So that's why we feel that things may have been deleted, was because of the fact that there was nothing in either one of his accounts. But I do want to say this. I would hope that any parent who, God forbid, would be in our situation
I would hope that you would do the same thing. I would hope that you would ask for any help, receive any help to get answers, because at the end of the day, that's all we want. We just want to know. We just want to know what happened and why our baby didn't come home. Like that's our biggest thing. And we are so grateful to everyone, family, friends, classmates, United Cajun Navy, everybody that's assisted us. We appreciate you. There's not enough.
Yes, I do believe they can retrieve those deleted messages. I think Attorney Crump was talking about that earlier in the press conference about the expenses involved in what these parents are doing as far as trying to get answers. So yes, CJ Brooks, facts and receipts. Thank you for joining the Big Mic Drop. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. Please. Thank you. Let's continue.
Thank yous that we could say or give to you, but I just, we just want to know. We want an honest, thorough investigation. That's all we're asking for.
Do you want to say about who Nolan was?
Nolan is a person with a big heart. He's loved by not just his family, but the community. He's a born people person. He really developed a bond with his baby brother because both of them played the same position. So he was really understanding the business side of the sport, of which is football, and understand that it's not just a game you play. So the stuff that I was telling him, it was kind of starting to sink into him, and he was really getting more in depth into it. And I could see as he did that, his baby brother really started getting more into it as well, as far as being more focused, because he saw, well, if my big brother is about to go do this great thing, then I want to do this great thing, but I want to do it better. That's why that's what made him so like vinegar oil.
Man, this is sad. It's breaking my heart. I want to point out one thing, guys. So even it doesn't matter like which kid it was throughout the past, let's just say 15 years. Have you noticed that if that kid has a father that's alive, a black father, black kids I'm talking about, you notice that father's going to step in there with that mother. They could have been divorced 20 years. I just think that what you see versus what you hear when it comes to black fatherhood, black fathers have always been there, guys. They've always been there. They're not doing separate interviews because they can't stand to be around each other like the Metcalfs. Have you noticed that? The Metcalf family, not that I've seen, I'm not going to say one doesn't exist, but I haven't seen one of Jeff Metcalf and Megan, whatever her last name is now. It might still be Metcalf. I don't know. I haven't seen them together with their one living son doing an interview. He ranting and raving, and she over there like tapped out. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to black fathers. You know what I'm saying? We always there, whether we with the mama or not. You know what I'm saying? We don't leave our kids. I just thought that was something to point out. That man's father is here. Carmelo Anthony's father was there. Cyrus Carmack Belton, his father was there. What's the guy that got shot up in Wisconsin? That got shot in the back, that was paralyzed. That the whole Kyle Rittenhouse thing came out of that. Was it Jacob? His mother and father were there. Trayvon Martin's mother and father were there. Just notice the little differences, the little nuances, you know?
Or it was like they was always at each other, but they were the same. When I look at my youngest, I'll say Nolan, or when I look at Nolan, I'll say my youngest name. So they would train together. I would always say, hey, you did some push-ups and you the one ran some routes. And they know when I say it,
Real dad.
next day they're out there running routes. Even my other son, he'll go out there. He doesn't play their position, but he would go out there and work and exercise and work out because they were understanding what I was talking about. They were growing, they were becoming men. So this was his time. He would always talk to me. I would always give him my advice about stuff. I always try to tell him what to look for. And as I always tell him, I said, son, I'm giving you this advice and I'm telling you this stuff, but you're gonna have to experience this. But when you experience it, it won't be foreign to you. You'll have some kind of idea of how to navigate through it. And I think me and his mother, I think we did a great job with that. That's why it's so hard for me to believe that he would choose to stay on the island. It just wasn't in his character.
That's a parent that's secure in what they teach their child in Mississippi. That's what I'm telling you folks on the internet, the FBA crowd. Look, I identify as FBA too, but all of this talking about the mother's Asian lineage and like somehow these people were off code. You could be on code and still get caught in Mississippi, guys. You can know all of the answers and still get caught in Mississippi, guys. It's not like these other states. It's not like these other places. And I'm not going to lie. It hadn't been very active lately. But with the Donald Trump and all of that, it's starting to fire back up. You see, what happened when Joe Biden took over, and I'm not trying to make this political, but what happened was essentially Biden came in and threw cold water in a barrel of coals, right? A barrel of smoldering coals. He threw cold water on top, in which case it seemed to quell the fire. But underneath, where the water didn't reach, it was still burning. It was still simmering, seething, festering. These are the type of words we use for what we're seeing ooze out through American society right now. And it's definitely oozing out. It's like I said, it's not a good thing to see. But I do believe in the end, it's a good thing to happen because you need to see it. Think about that one for a while.
His character. So Nolan is the funniest kid in our family. Speaking of the time she was talking about, we were having a kind of heated moment, and I don't know if you guys remember the little dance called Stanky Leg. I think my son created it because we were sitting in that closet looking and just like talking. He literally came to the closet door and peeked around and stood in front of it and just started doing this little crazy dance. And I was like, we just bust out whatever we was arguing about, we stopped laughing. Then we called him to us and we just hugged and laughed and played. But then maybe 6 months later, the song didn't hit. But we always said he created the Stanky Leg dance. But that's my greatest memory of my son.
What are you telling your other children about this?
My son Ethan, he's hurting. These are the ones these are the younger ones. He's like, Dad, I don't know what I'm gonna do, and I'm like, son, you gotta keep going because he would want you to be better. His youngest brother Elmore, the one that really worked out with him, he was like, I'm hurting, Dad, but I said, Nolan wants you to be the best he can be. He would want you to outdo him, and whenever you feel like you're in a bind or having some kind of problem, call on your brother, talk to your brother. My twins, the loss of a younger sibling is hurting them. They have to figure out how to navigate through life without him. And my daughter Carly, with her being away, it's really hard for her because she's not around family now. So she's out on her own. doing life like us, but she's doing it on her own. So she has to do this by herself. We're here, by phone, but we're not there in person. So she really has to draw on the people that's around her when she's not home. So all together, my family, this is gonna be our new norm. He was the jester in my court, and yeah, he will be missed greatly, not by us, but by the whole community.
We will announce the funeral services when it is finalized, and we'll be going to help with I will officiate at the funeral in Mississippi. Again,
so Al Sharpton is doing the funeral. I like to see Al Sharpton preach when he's actually preaching. I ain't gonna lie. I fucks with Al.
Take your questions, but identify who you are, and please be respectful to families in mourning. But because they want justice for their son, they came to New York to make this appeal. But let's not make this a circus.
I really appreciate this, and like I said, I don't even really feel like I should apologize. I thank you guys for being with me. The mic on the big mic drop. Watching this, like I said, it's important we take all of it, man. Take all of it in. I know we've been going a little bit long, but this is work. This is gonna be work, guys. It's gonna be work because you got forces that's working to make sure the truth is never uncovered. So we need to have people with shovels out here digging up real truths, putting these nuggets out here and disseminating the correct information to our people on the internet, man. So I thank y'all for joining me. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel, guys. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. That's what I need right now to get this content up and running and keep the message going.
Yes.
Christina Marchand from the New York Post. First of all, I just want to say I'm so sorry about the loss of the family. I have a couple of questions. When was the last time you heard from Nolan? What did he say? Was there a call or a text?
Hey, thank you, Sabrina. I appreciate you, man. Look, you always miss Texas to me. Like I said, you've been a day one on the show, and I appreciate you for always being a good sport. You're a hell of a debater, and I love you, sis. Thank you.
What was said during that last interaction, and also how do you know that it's Nolan saying, "Give me my phone"? What do you do in that video?
Say that last question.
How do you know that it's Nolan saying, "Give me my phone"? What you doing in that video?
All right, guys. So if you didn't hear the question, I don't know how it's coming through on your end. But if you didn't hear the last question, I think that's the most important one that I heard is how do you know, or how did you know that it was Nolan on the video saying, "Give me my freaking phone"? Here's the answer. Let's go.
Well, the second one is of the children who are saying it was Nolan. Yeah.
So the last time we spoke and saw Nolan was July the 3rd. He actually cooked dinner for me, actually for us, because I had gotten off work and it's been really busy. And so he cooked dinner. It was salmon. He baked it. So proud. And then after that, he was just like, "Hey, Mom, I'm about to go. I love you."
I don't know about the salmon.
It was hug, kiss, and he left. Which of course, he knew we always looked at the Life 360. So there were times maybe he didn't call us to let us know when he made it, but we would see it. He would text at some point, but that was the last time we saw and spoke with him.
Man, Sabrina, I'm not even trying to be funny, but every time that picture shows up, I'm like, why my daddy on this picture?
Sir.
Your husband looks like my father on the picture. It's small.
Two questions. First, who is doing the autopsy in Washington, D.C.? And second question is, as part of your independent investigation, have you plan to
see if I can't hear that question a little bit better. It's a little bit hard. They don't have microphone.
Tim Grant from Washington Post. Two questions. First, who is doing the independent autopsy in Washington, D.C.? And second question is, as part of your independent investigation, have you planned to reach out to the other boys with to ask them voluntarily speak to your...
Okay, so basically what he's asking is who is doing the autopsy in Washington, D.C.? And the next question is, have they reached out to the boys in question in the capacity of Crump's independent investigation to give them an opportunity to voluntarily give information? So let's check out the answer to that.
Dr. Roger Mitchell is doing the independent autopsy on behalf of Nolan Wells' family. And we understand that the young men have lawyers, so we will have to have their lawyers agree to let them speak to our investigators, and we have not attempted to talk to them as of yet. We have been attempting to talk to many of the students and people who are out there that we are aware of.
So, all right. So a synopsis of that is basically, I think it just said Robert Mitchell was the name of the doctor that's doing the autopsy, which as long as it's not somebody that's in that little Ocean Springs, Gulf Coast area or under the thumb of Mississippi government, then I think that's fine. That's not really neither here or there, as long as they're good. Sure, Kaepernick writing a check for him, he got the best. So, but so another so-called rumor, they were saying it was rumors online, the other side, the Clays of the world were saying that it was rumors online about the guys getting lawyered up. Well, Ben Crump just substantiated the rumors. They can't speak to the guys right now because those kids have lawyers. So they have to get permission from the lawyers to let the kids speak. They don't really have to get permission. The kid can always, speak to you, but it's just not a thing that people do when they have legal representation. I think that's important because I would like to know how long they've been lawyered up and if the internet was right on them boys getting lawyered up like the next Monday, the Monday after that, they were already lawyered up. So you know what I'm saying? I would like to know when they got lawyered up. If I could ask Ben Crump a question, that would be the question I asked. And he'd probably be like, Michael McDonald, Michael McDonald. They got lawyered up Michael McDonald. The day after Michael McDonald. Shout out to Attorney Crump, man. He's doing the lawyer's work right now, guys. Attorney Ben Crump is doing the lawyer's work.
Okay. Right here.
Oh, okay. Justin Finch, Inside Edition, asking a question here. First, for the family, wondering if you recall from your friend what was said to her by the people who gave her Nolan's phone, and for Attorney Crump, wondering for you, at some point, will that phone be given to police for their investigation and express interest?
Yes.
So the exact wording of the exchange, it was through phone because again, we were busy trying to figure out who was going to take the missing persons report. Just because when it's in water, when it occurs on the island, it's not necessarily the city or the county because then it becomes an issue of jurisdiction. So like I said, she went there and spoke with, I cannot remember, I'm so sorry, my brain is everywhere. But she went to the house and retrieved the phone. She said, I have his phone, the phone looks okay. As far as like appearance goes, it didn't look damaged or anything. And so then after that, we met with her at the other house where he had stayed the night, July the 3rd, where his car was. Because it was important for us to try to retrieve everything of his that we could. But it honestly, for both instances, it was a run and round because I know she had issues getting his phone as well.
So they were giving the runaround, This is directly from the mother's mouth. They were given the runaround and retrieving his items. That's his car. That's his phone. Our intuition is deep, guys. I don't know who y'all think y'all fooling with, bro. If it don't look right, we ain't going for it. That's why we don't eat y'all's food when you bring that shit to potluck. That's just a fact. Sorry.
He ended up calling me, and I think I spoke with the mother. She put me on speakerphone, and I was like, hey, yes, I'm Christine. I'm Nolan's mom. We need his phone. We're trying to find him.
So that flies in the face of this whole they were best friends and all these guys were like brothers to him and this and that. That flies in the face of that because your brother know your mother, fam. Your brother knows your mother. It's not I talk to the mother and this and that, blah, blah, blah. That lady doesn't have any connection with these guys that are so-called his best friends. So I think that's part of a lying narrative as well, which is another reason I'm telling Black folks on the internet, stop going after this man's parents. That's not what this case is about.
Yes, I guess, okay, we'll go her and then you.
I guess let me answer the second part of the question. Absolutely, after our expert.
ZP, yes, there is a lot of missing evidence, ZP, but I'm going to tell you this. The answer is in not the evidence that's missing per se, but the difficulty they're having in getting the evidence that does exist, that they know exists. It just shouldn't be any resistance to that. This lady just said that she has, 6 kids? The judge has 6 kids. So she should understand the importance of this lady getting answers immediately. It should be no runaround. 0 runaround.
First, be able to examine the phone. We will let the Mississippi investigators examine the phone. And it's fortuitous that they have the phone because normally in these investigations, as you know, Reverend Al, they would have the phone and stuff and they would keep it for months and the family just be in limbo. But thank God we have the phone now. We're going to do it expeditiously and give it to them to examine it as well.
That's why, and I'll address what Attorney Crump just said, but the lack of major media coverage didn't start until after the boys were lawyered up. It was only social media coverage until Tuesday. That's a fact. That's why I'm an advocate of social media coverage. I'm an advocate of facts first, but I'm an advocate of social media coverage. Like I said, you notice I'm not showing a bunch of videos and, oh, we got this video of him and that. You know, I'm not going against anybody who has. I appreciate the work, the groundwork that my man Freezy and them have laid on this case. But I've already just been made aware. I've been made aware that during the Carmelo Anthony case, a lot of those videos that people were so-called seeing were AI manufactured videos. We need to be careful and take specific care, not for that not to happen here. Bottom line, for that not to happen here. That's it. But I am a fan and an advocate of social media detectives getting on it. Social media has solved a bunch of crimes with a lot of victims over the last 15, 20 years, guys. It just has. Social media is what got young Dolph's murderer arrested, charged, and convicted. So don't sleep on social media coverage. Sabrina said, if you research Ocean Springs, Mississippi, a lot of bullying and alleged children committing suicide in the last 4 years. That's interesting that you bring that up. That's very interesting that you bring that up because I'm going to tell you guys, and we may do this, I may do this just for subscribers for real, because I don't want the wrong people getting a hold of this type of information or being involved in this type of talk. But if there is an air of this evil energy over the city of Ocean Springs, then this could go into some kind of spiritual situation for those of you who believe in that. There are things at play, and I'm going to tell you, I don't think that it's a coincidence that this happened to Nolan and only Nolan on July 4th, 2026, which was the 250th birthday of the United States of America. When I tell you that white supremacy is a religion, it's a religion, guys. Take my word for it. It operates just like a religion, all the way down to having a God that justifies everything that they think and feel, which is why those conversations never quite connect when you try to connect with white supremacists who also claim that they're Christians. That's a deeper conversation for another day. But let's continue.
Anna Schechter with CBS News. So you said that he stayed the night at a friend's. The first question is, did he stay with the friends that he went on the boat with?
Yes, he did.
And my second question is, has anyone come forward and provided you with other photographs or videos from Horn Island from July 4th that afternoon?
They're starting to send them to our office, and that's what Attorney Parker was being so adamant about. Please continue to send whatever videos you got, whatever pictures you got. And we're very thankful that some young people have done that.
Good afternoon. Darla Miles, ABC 7 New York. First of all, I would like to extend my condolences to you, Mr. and Mrs. Wells. I know this is very brave of you, and we appreciate your transparency. Two questions, also in regards to you right now, Mr. Crump. My first question is, this happened in Mississippi, and you've traveled here to meet with Reverend Al Sharpton. Why was this important to you, and how meaningful has this meeting been with you here in New York?
So we did this because, once again, what we're wanting is transparency, right? Although I do absolutely respect law enforcement, just the fact that the accidental drowning thing, it made both me and his father uncomfortable. Why are we so quick to rush to this? And we just, at the end of the day, we want answers. This has been very impactful. And I'm gonna be honest with you, the day they found him, we were at Port Mars, which is one of the boat launches. And I was standing beside the water, and I had said a prayer, and I was like, Lord, this isn't what we wanted. But I just asked him to help us get through this, put the right people in our path that could potentially help us. Because at that point, we hadn't reached out to anybody. We didn't know where to start. This is foreign. We've never been through this. No parent should go through this. And then that's when my cousin, Keezy, she sent me a message with some information. My friend, Bianca, her sister, knows a contact with Attorney Ben. And so I said, okay, this has to be it. This has to be God helping us along the way. And I am not religious, but I am spiritual. And for that, I was grateful because I felt like things were being set up. And at this point, I have always said, we are taking any help. Any help. We don't care, black, white, purple. Again, we just want to know what happened. That's all we want to know. We just want to know what happened.
And my quick follow-up to that, were you able to get a clear explanation as to the chain of custody of this phone, like how that parent came in possession of this phone? And then explain the resistance. You said you went to the home to get the keys. I don't understand, what kind of resistance? What was that exchange of words like? The resistance you received when you went to go retrieve his keys. Thank you.
He just acted like he didn't know where they were. He just he was like he was clueless. He was like, I don't know. Just please. I was like, just please go in the room and look for me. Cause be honest with you, at that time, I was very emotional.
All right, guys. And Sabrina, shout out to that. Yes, the mother knows what time it is, guys. She knows what time it is. It's an intuition, and it's in all of us because there's a parental nurturing aspect to all Black people, guys. I don't know if you remember a few years ago, it was a white lady on Twitter. I think she was on Twitter or TikTok, and she was talking to her little son, and she was telling him that if you get lost, go find a big Black man. Do y'all remember that? Put a thumbs up in the chat if you remember that. She said, if you get lost, go find a big Black man and go with me. It was a white lady. And it caused a little bit of an uproar amongst people, white people, of course, because, you know, the whole thing is that we're dangerous. We're just dangerous people and violent and this and that. Like I said, another projection. Another projection. But there is a paternal instinct with us, which is why we're saying things like, if the roles would have been reversed and Nolan was a white kid out with a group of 4 Black kids on a boat, he would have made it home. It wouldn't have been no way. If they would have had to drag him on that boat and tell him to get with the chick on the shore. You see what I mean? We would have did that. We would have made sure we deliver you back to land, to your parents, to your house. If you want to jump on another boat and go back out to the island to kick it with the freaks, then that's on you. But it's very paternalistic when we take our white friends amongst our people. That's all I'm saying. This is deep, guys.
No one was giving me an answer. So that situation with me and them could have went totally left field. But since those other young kids were in there, at that moment, they kept me from doing what I wanted to do. So getting them and calming them down, it helped me focus on what I was really there for, to find the keys. And like I said, when I asked him, he said he went and looked. And so he said he couldn't find them. I did what I needed. I left out of their home. And like I said, 5 minutes later, he come back out with the keys. And they didn't come back outside anymore until the police came. Because at that time, police were called because we were looking for his wallet. And then they went to the door. But other than that, when they sent the keys out, they locked everything. They didn't want nothing to do with what was outside that door. So that right there is, when you lied to me, it killed all trust in anything we had to say.
Father looking for his son, lied to. Trying to retrieve his missing son's car. Man, it might be some satanic shit going on, man. I'm dead serious. I hate to say it, but we kind of, the conversation's kind of trending there. It might be some satanic shit going on, man. And it's been confirmed on several different wavelengths for me. I've heard it too many different places. The word spiritual keeps coming up in this situation, guys, in my head. But I'm going to refrain from going any further on that right now. I'll just sit back and watch. But the word spiritual keeps ringing in my ear throughout this situation, guys. So the force is at play.
We'll take the last 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go ahead.
Maria Campanodi with CNN. 2 questions for Attorney Crump, just to get some clarification on the timeline of the events. When was Nolan last seen and by whom? And the second question is, who first reported Nolan missing and when?
Well, and I asked his mother to also assist on the second question. But as it's conflicts. You know, the young woman said that he went and got back on the boat with the boys. The boys say no. He said he was going to stay with her. And that's a conflict. And the troubling thing is if they're saying, well, he made the decision to stay behind, would an 18-year-old college student say, go ahead without me, I don't want my cell phone or anything? It just doesn't add up. And so that, around that 3 o'clock time, seems to be the last time that we have those statements. However, as Christine said, they're suggesting that they didn't leave to 4:30 though. So, you know, if you said you were leaving at 3, why you left at 4:30, and where was Nolan for that hour? And
Israel.
I think she was asking about the cell phone.
When was you last seen?
Oh, I asked the last scene. I thought you said something else.
When was he first?
Oh, missing. Okay.
So, his friend contacted me, it was around 11:07. And then I called my friend to ask her, had she seen him? Because that would be the only other place I would think he would go if he were back on land. And so then when she told me no, she was like, don't worry, I'm going to look for him. And that's when we got on the phone. First I called, it was either the county or Ocean Springs. It was either one of them, but whichever I called first, I was directed to call DMR because so DMR, if I'm not mistaken, they handle cases with the island or the water in that area. So the young lady took the information down. She's like, I'm going to give you a call back. I said, okay. So when she called me back, she explained to me, she was like, you know, I've spoken with the Coast Guard, which his friend had contacted the Coast Guard. Warren had contacted the Coast Guard to report Nolan missing as well. So I'm on the phone with the DMR. He's calling Coast Guard. And she said, I spoke with Coast Guard and, you know, you're going to have to complete the report with, I think it was Ocean Springs. So we go down to the Ocean Springs Police Department. We're told because it's a jurisdiction issue that they can't file the missing police report. Jackson County the Sheriff's Department ends up calling me back. I think if I remember this correctly, and she was calling to check to see were they able to do it. I told her no, they couldn't do it. The young lady on the phone and the officer at Ocean Springs Police Department spoke. He explained to her why Ocean Springs Police Department could not complete the missing persons report. She said, okay. He gives the phone back. She's like, look, I'm just going to go ahead and do it so there's no more back and forth. So my husband and I, we met an officer in the McDonald's parking lot. I think at this point it's maybe around 12. Don't quote me on that. But we explained to him, you know, what he looked like, age, all those things. Last time he was reported seen, which again, by his friend, he said that the last time he physically saw him was at 3 p.m. and they were getting ready to leave the island.
Absolutely, Sabrina. So now that fact has been confirmed by this count, now it's a fact. Friend contacted the Coast Guard. Confirmed.
Israel Rodriguez with the U.S. Sun. Have you been able to gather additional information made by Warren's mother, Ashley Cole, on social media, where she said the group left the island after they experienced trouble with the boat and that the boat began taking in water?
And your question is what directly? We know she made that statement.
Have you been able to gather additional information on that?
No, we have not.
I know the additional information. How much you want to guarantee that there was nothing wrong with that bilge pump on that boat? How much you want to bet on that? And you better have my money too. Because when you're on land, it's different if something happens to the bilge pump and you're sitting out in the middle of the Gulf fishing, right? And you got to try to get back. So you're going to risk that, right? But if you're already anchored off the coast of an island, you're in waist deep water, your boat is taking on water. While I know you don't want the boat to sink, why would you take that boat 8.69 nautical miles, risking hundreds of gallons of water, getting in the bottom of that boat and bringing you down in the middle of the Gulf. 10 miles ain't no joke, family. 10 miles ain't no joke. And yeah, you can take a boat up to nice speeds, but it's going to take you 20, 30 minutes. It's going to take you 20 or 30 minutes. So by that time, just say 20 minutes. Small leak, 5 gallons per minute. That's 100 extra gallons of water in the bottom of that boat just in 20 minutes. How much does a gallon of water weigh? What, 8 pounds, 9 pounds? A gallon of water? So it's not making sense, guys. It's not making sense. That was not a wise move. You already been drinking. There's been allegations that there may have been some kind of substance involved. I'm going to wait to get on that one, but that's something that's out there too, that there were substances involved and that Nolan didn't want to take part. And that could have been a reason for the argument. But we're going to wait until we get that information from the Wells camp. Respectfully.
Thank you. Kevin Ortega-Rojas with Here's Why News. I was hoping that the family could clarify Nolan's relationship with the young men that he traveled to the island with. We've heard different accounts of how long he's known them. And I was wondering also if you folks have spoken to those families since they lawyered up.
High school friends. Say that second part again. Last question.
Thank you so much, Rev. I want to speak to the family.
Ooh, whoa. Did they skate that question? Did they just skate that question? Let's go back.
By his friend, he said that the last time he physically saw him was at 3 p.m. and they were getting ready to leave the island.
Israel Rodriguez with the U.S. Sun. Have you been able to gather additional information made by Warren's mother actually on social media, where she said the group left the island after they experienced trouble with the boat and that the boat began taking in water?
Your question is what directly? We know she made that statement.
Have you been able to gather additional information on that?
No, we have not.
Thank you. Kevin.
I'm telling you, and I'm going to keep going, Sabrina, but I'm telling you, the whole reason that any malfunction with the boat or any component on the boat was brought up is so the boat, it's a explanation for the boat not being available to be searched and forensics to be performed on the boat. I guarantee you they have not seen that boat or put their hands on that boat yet.
Rojas with Here's Why News. I was hoping that the family could clarify Nolan's relationship with the young men that he traveled to the island with. We've heard different accounts of how long he's known them. And I was wondering also if you folks have spoken to those families since they lawyered up.
All right. So just to repeat the question, this reporter, which is a great question, he's wondering how long in the nature of the relationship between Nolan and the people that he went to the island with. Because when you first heard it and they were showing the pictures, they were trying to make it like this was their brother and he spent the night at the house. And, but when you look at Ashley Cole's post, let's look back at that again. Look at the way this post is worded, guys. Look at the way it's worded and tell me, is there really any connection there? Our family, along with the community, grieves the loss of Nolan Wells. So the way the media was trying to present it was that these folks was just locked in like brothers, like me and my brother. You know what I'm saying? My mother is my brother's mother. You feel me? Even though he didn't come from her, he didn't come forth from her, but my brother, you're my friend, one of my best friends. You know my mother. My mother's going to be able to sit up and vouch for the role that my brothers played in my life. Our family, along with the community, grieves the loss of Nolan Wells. Our thoughts and prayers are with Nolan's family. Our son, Warren, loved Nolan dearly. When you close to somebody, we loved Nolan. We loved Nolan dearly. Not our son, Warren, loved Nolan dearly. What about your other fucking 6 kids? What about you and your husband? Did y'all love Nolan? These people were not close friends, guys. I just don't. I've taken pictures with hundreds of people. Donald Trump, every time they find a picture of Donald Trump with somebody, what does he say? I just took a picture with the guy. So don't let the pictures fool you as far as the nature and the depth of the relationship. That's all I'm saying. This woman who's the stepmother of one of the children is letting you know our son Warren loved Nolan dearly. Not we love Nolan dearly. She wrote this out of anger, guys.
High school friends.
Say the second part again.
Last question.
Boy, the mother straight up said she skated that question. She shook her head a little bit. I just want to look at that one more again, guys. Let's look at that. Watch how the mood changes. Let's go.
Thank you. Kevin Ortega-Rojas with Here's Why News. I was hoping that the family could clarify Nolan's relationship with the young men that he traveled to the island with. We've heard different accounts of how long he's known them. And I was wondering also if you folks have spoken to those families since they...
Look at the way the corners of her mouth puckered up. Now, I understand things about black women, dog. When the corners of that mouth do this, and it ain't smiling, yeah, that question didn't land right with her. She's not ready to answer that question.
Lawyered up.
High school friends.
Say the second part again.
Last question.
When they asked about the relationship, everybody's head started shaking. Pay attention, fam. The mic drop. Everybody's head started shaking. Shit. Boy, this is deep, guys.
Thank you so much, Brad. I want to speak to the family. I stand here as a first cousin of a victim. In 2020, he went out with his friend and the mother, who was white, and he went missing. He was found dead, deceased, in a field behind her house. She was arrested. She was charged with failing to report a missing child and contributing to the delinquent of a juvenile. So your story is very familiar. Your pain, I feel it too. And I will continue to advocate. I'm an activist and I go all across the world. But today I'm here because I stand with you. As a cousin of a victim, I know what you feel when you don't get justice and the system is up against you.
God bless you. Thank you. We will follow up and when we're ready to formal announcements. Again, the funeral service is not to prompt religion, it's to seek justice and unity. And we want everybody, black, white, everybody, to come and extol what this young man represented. It's not a protest rally. It will be to really lift up the spirit of this young man and to stand with the family. If we have to do protest rallies, that'll be announced at another time. The funeral services is to talk about how Nolan was a great young man to his family, and we're there to comfort them. Thank you for your time. Let us, please.
So I know I have been seeing some younger people, real adults,
older people doing protests. We actually had a very small one in Ocean Springs. Some young boys that knew Nolan, actually some of his friends. So what Elmore and I would like to say is, if you do, please be peaceful. Nolan was not someone who liked fights, physical fights. He really didn't even like arguments. So don't go out there trying to be tough. Just think about what Nolan would want. And I'm telling you, he would not want that type of behavior. So let's just make sure that we keep it peaceful and respectful to one another's and others, and just stay away from negativity, but also to all of those who have sent beautiful messages. We have not gone through all of them, but I want you to know that we appreciate you, your love, your support, standing with us, and just keep us in your prayers.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Kind of getting to where I was a little bit iffy on Crump in the beginning. Okay. So I think that it's time, because I've spoken out against the families always asking for peace and forgiveness. But I'm going to tell you something, guys. The big mic drop has turned over a new leaf due to this situation on this. Do what the family asks. We don't need to impede this investigation, period. Right now, we ahead of the game. We ahead of it. The system of white supremacy finally is playing catch up in the state of Mississippi. Let's keep our foot on their necks. Let's stay peaceful about this while these people seek justice. I used to hate that about being Crump, because every family came out when we ready to get raw and get bucked. Every family comes out and says this. So this is part of the press junket for Crump. This is part of his strategy. And I'm not going to lie, nonviolence, at the end of the day, I'm not going to say it gets more results, but it gets more desired results in the fact of people not being arrested, other people not being, killed and whatnot. So I will say that I appreciate this family, the Wansley family, for coming out. Y'all have tremendous courage. Y'all my people. Like I say, we from the same village pretty much. Y'all my folks. We eat the same foods, the same staples. Do the same shit on the weekends. Listen to All Blues Saturday on 93 BLX every Saturday. So respect their wishes, guys. I'm going to go ahead and get off of here today. But I'm going to get off of here and I'm going to leave you with something before we go. And we'll be back, because as news breaks on this case, I'm waiting on autopsy results. And, if anything comes up in between then that's groundbreaking, I might come live or do, and talk about it. I may do a live or a reel and talk about it if anything comes, out in the next few hours or before the weekend gets started, okay? You guys be safe out there this weekend. Be vigilant. Question everything. Believe nothing. Okay? Question everything. It's 2 or 3 levels deeper than the surface. Always. Okay? I appreciate you guys for joining. Once again, shout out to Sabrina, Miss Texas in the building. Shout out to Pam Poe, John Poe. Shout out to DJ ZPE. Shout out to everybody that's been in the comments. Liz, shout out to Q. Everybody that was in the comments. Tommy B, you know what I'm saying? And O'Shea Duke Jackson, man. Shout out to you, O'Shea, man. I appreciate you for coming to check with your boy. For those who don't know, O'Shea brought me into the Black Manosphere back in 2021. So we 5 years in. I've been gone for a while running businesses and whatnot. But now I'm back with you guys, man. I'm back with this information, and we're going to get justice. We're going to get justice for Nolan, guys. We're going to get justice for him. We're going to get justice for this beautiful family, his little brother. And I appreciate Attorney Crump. I appreciate Tyler Perry. And I appreciate Colin Kaepernick. Now, where Jay-Z and Beyonce at? Just playing. I ain't pocket watching. Do what you want to do with your money, man. It's your boy Big Mike Drop. It's the Mike Drop. And we out of here, guys. I'm about to go on get up out of here as soon as I can get my mouse to work correctly. You guys enjoy your weekend and be safe.